quoi tu bois sans dire à tout.
What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's our weekly live stream where we talk about news, current events, have a forum for thought exercises, as well as our movie review. Tonight we'll be continuing our this month's theme of Vampire Month with a 2009 Korean film called Thirst from our boy Chan-wook Park. Starring kang-ho. So something to look forward to there.
Hell yeah, dude! It's a wild fucking movie. Let's just say that.
Indeed. And looking forward to discussing it. With me, as ever, is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, buddy?
We're coming out of a heat wave. It kind of popped up, and it was about a week long. But today is the last day of the temperatures within the 90s. So we are on a cooling trend. So
we're on a cooling trend, dude. It's been like 110 for like the last couple of days. It's been nuts.
Absolutely. I mean, it got so bad that the air conditioning at work got overloaded, and it actually kind of crashed. But today it wasn't so bad. It actually was kind of keeping the shop cool. So thank God for little graces. But yeah, it's gonna be a crazy drop though, because tomorrow it's gonna be in the high 80s to low 90s. From then on,
it's actually gonna cool down at night.
From then on, it's just it's gonna drop like a stone. And very much welcome, I must say.
God,
I know it was above 110 just like a few days ago. And it's like
yeah, Monday it's supposed to rain.
Oh wow!
And Monday it's supposed to rain too. Yeah.
And it's like the kind of heat that it hurts to be outside,
Oh, my dog has been dying.
Do you have the little paw pad shoes for her?
No, we don't have the shoes for her, but I don't walk her on the asphalt just because of that. And she doesn't want to walk on it, so I'm like, all right, well, so she'll walk on the cement sidewalk just fine. She's okay with that, but she'll get to a point where it's like, no, I think I'm done. Let's go home. It's like, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of pet parents. I hate to use that word, but a lot of the pet parents they're starting now to use the paw sneakers, just so they could take their dogs outdoors, so they could so that their little pads on their feet don't burn.
I just don't walk her on the asphalt, or no more than 5 seconds. It's like, well, if I do have to cross the street, if she wants to go over there, we'll run, and she's a pretty fast runner, so we can get across the street pretty quickly. But I do want to get her those shoes just because I know how much it's gotta hurt so bad for them. And it's like, listen, I'm not one of those people. I wouldn't call myself a pet parent, but I do love my dog.
You're a dog owner.
Yeah, I'm a dog owner. That's how I would consider myself, and I do love my dog.
Display dominance at all times. All right, you're the owner.
Yeah, I regularly sleep with my dog, and she's excited to see me. I'm happy to see her when I get home. And so anything I can do to make her more comfortable, I'm down for it. This heat has got to be killing these fucking dogs and cats. And it's just, it's awful. Because it's like, think about it, like, you just wear a really heavy, coat throughout this heat wave. That's what the dogs are dealing with, or cats. Because they actually have a thick layer of skin too, more so than we do. which makes it even like hotter.
Yeah, and they don't have the luxury of sweat glands.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's like my dog will be like laying next to the fan, and she'll be like, huh, 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 with her tongue out, like just having a tough time. But like, we'll throw on the AC, and she'll lay next to that thing just because it's
so hot.
it's so damn hot. I also love when we have like a super cold like drink, either from like a cup or a can or something like that. We'll set this can or cup next to her with all the condensation. She'll lick that because it feels good.
Yeah,
Fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know tonight's the debate between Kamala and Trump. You know, but it's pretty much it's
what you would expect.
Foregone conclusion. The media is gonna spin it and make like, oh yeah, Kamala's the winner and Trump's the loser and Trump is unhinged and how dare he talk to a woman of color or talk down to a woman of color. Just like I'm bored of it.
Like I was watching a little bit and she's lying her ass off, dude. It's like it's blatant lying.
Yeah, I know. I caught a little bit of it too,
and
I think it was just after the like probably about abortion, but then like the moderator came back and like kind of fired back at Trump, basically saying, "Yeah, you're a liar." And then said, Madam Vice President, your response." She's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it's well, and that see, this is why she ducked out on what was supposed to be the debate last week that ended up becoming a Trump town hall, which also can Hannity shut the fuck up, dude? Like, that guy talks too goddamn much. Let Trump speak, for God's sakes. But that was supposed to be a debate.
Well,
and Trump has agreed to like whatever. Fine, you want your whatever bullshit concessions? I don't care. I'm gonna beat you anyways because I'm better than you.
I actually have ideas. I have
and that's why. Yeah. This is where Kamala needs her warm blanket. She needed it in her like 16-minute warm blanket interview. What was it like? Was that last week? A couple weeks ago? And she couldn't even do it alone. She had to have Tim Waltz there, who was also. It's like, so you're this progressive woman who doesn't need no man, yet you needed a man to help you with this interview that was heavily edited.
Right, like the deck was stacked for you, and yet you still like fucking fumbled it.
It's one of those things where when people actually hear what Trump is saying, they like him. When people hear Kamala talking, they don't like her. That's what we need more of. We need to hear Kamala talking so that people realizes that she's unless it's talking about crazy ass socialist policies, she's an idiot.
Yeah, or trying to recount like anecdotes. I don't know what this was in relation to, but she was talking about the lids on top of coffee cups or something, and it's like.
Yeah, it's like what?
Yeah, like
what
who cares
is this?
about fucking lids on coffee cups when people like it literally? I mean, it literally costs like $5 for a cup of coffee at Starbucks now.
I don't want to look with my lipstick on the coffee cup. It's like, just fucking drink the coffee. Who gives a fuck? Your policies suck. You're an asshole.
But the problem is, like, when she actually does start talking, like, her policies suck. Like, legitimately suck. Like, like the whole specifically, I'm thinking about the comment she made about Elon Musk and Twitter, and like, oh yeah, he's not doing what we say, so he should lose his privilege. I'm like, what privilege? You mean his right to free expression, his right to, run his company the way
they're probably talking about
the privilege of running his company the way he sees fit.
They're probably talking about the was it Section 230 rights that all these tech
Yeah,
companies
no, but
have,
but specifically, she was
because
naming
they're
Musk because I mean, despite his wacky ideas, he's pretty much like a free speech advocate. And they can't have that. They can the Democrats, they can't have free speech because then then people are gonna say mean things about them. Mean things mean in air quotes actually meaning the truth.
I would say, like I said, yeah, Musk is he does say some strange things, but he has really kind of gone more to like, I just want people to have a platform to be able to express their ideas and talk about things. Cool. I think that's what everyone wants, except for extreme leftists. Those are the only people complaining. I don't. Uh, like I said, I don't agree with everything the guy says. I don't even know if I agree with his politics all the time. But the guy does have he just wants people to like, this is a platform, and the platform's point is that we have to tell the truth about or what we have to have open discourse. And he obviously, the only people talking about having open discourse is the conservatives, which is why he's endorsed Trump. And to be honest, Trump, I think, has talked about having him as a guy to come in and deal with having government efficiency and cleaning house, essentially. Cleaning out trimming off the fat, if you will. Which, to be honest, I think that he'd be the guy to do it.
Yeah, I mean another
Let's get rid of all this bullshit that we don't
person
need.
who's familiar with business and the corporate world and wanting things to be as efficient as possible. I mean, because in business you can't just be this bloated behemoth and think like um, that you could just piss your money away. It's I mean, as much as I didn't appreciate the McDonald's being skimpy on their napkins or on their dipping sauces. It's like that's one of the places where they're losing the most money. It's like because workers were just like grabbing fistful of napkins and giving it to customers, or they're just like again grabbing handfuls of like the dipping sauces and just giving it away, and McDonald's was losing money, and so
Yeah, well, this is also before they had to give these people like what, $30
right,
an
and yeah,
hour.
this is before, and they're still kind of reasonable. Now they're so goddamn stingy. And I mean, I understand, because of stupid policies where like you have to have a minimum wage, or or you have to you have to meet these artificial benchmarkers to keep running your business.
Well, and to a degree, I understand a little bit, just because our federal government has essentially run the country almost into the ground, where it is. I mean, people trying to gain jobs are just unable to. And so you have to look towards these like lower service positions. Maybe you can't even get a work at a restaurant, so you go to like a McDonald's or a Jack in the Box or what have you. But like the state and federal government is like, well, we need to have a living, working wage for these people. It's like, that's not the point, because you have your other failed policies and you want to create other problems in these other industries that you have people who own these places. It's like, well, I can't afford that, so I'm going to use AI and a machine to
Yeah,
deal
because
with
they'd
stuff that.
rather have an upfront cost of paying for like a $50,000 robot that could flip burgers, but that initial $50,000 will pay the robot will eventually pay for itself, and because you could basically run it for 24 hours straight, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Yeah, you'll never, in the first year,
Pay
it
for itself.
will more than double itself. Yeah.
So
That's where we're at right now because of dumbass leftist policies that continue to fuck up the economy.
yeah, and so yeah, we're trying to stay away from that shit. And so that's why we're not doing a current stream with with commentary on the debate, because it's like, again, they're gonna we already know how it's gonna go. They're gonna call the debate the win for Kamala. They're gonna say Donald was an ass and interrupting her too much, and Kamala was so gracious under pressure, and she really laid into Donald Trump and blah 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 bullshit. So yeah, we're gonna we wanted to spare you from that.
We may talk about the highlights of that next week, but yeah, we're not gonna do a live stream of that today.
Yeah. Plus, I had my fill of politics today.
Yeah, yeah, you did.
So it wasn't even a dumb. It wasn't even a dumb fight, because I wasn't really one who fought, but I made this one point, and my more liberal coworkers, they couldn't even handle. They couldn't even deal. It started off with one of the topics that we're going to get into tonight, but it ultimately leads back to Trump bad, Biden good. Biden's like the best president we ever had, and I'm not even joking. I'm not even exaggerating. I mean,
he wasn't alive during his presidency. What the fuck? He's not a good president. He was never a president to begin with.
But somehow, and because eventually the withdrawal from Afghanistan came up, and and usually I don't bite, right? I try to stay out of this shit. It's so stupid.
I know you don't. I know.
And there's no. I already know these people. There's no argument that there's no perfect argument that I could craft that they could be that they would hit them and be like, oh, maybe. It's just like, I'm wrong. I'm stupid. I'm just a dumb NPC, even though they are the ones spouting off talking points. All I asked was, it's like, because they're saying like, oh, it was, the only reason why it was such a bad withdrawal is because it was Trump's plan. I was like, and I simply asked, did Biden change Trump's plan at all? And they're like, oh no, it was all Trump's plan. I was like, and then I said, well, he changed the date. He changed the withdrawal date unilaterally. All right, the date that Trump and the Afghani government and the Taliban and the local warlords, they all agreed upon a date. I think it was like either in June or July, right? And they agreed on it. They did because despite
it was a tiered retraction of troops.
And so and despite what you might think about them being goat fuckers or whatever and stupid hill people, the people in that area have an honor code, okay, and they made a deal. It's like, okay, we're by our word we're gonna follow this deal, okay. And then 2020 happens, and Biden gets in, and then he decides that he doesn't try to reconvene the council or negotiations again and ask for, hey, can I get more time? If
he didn't say skababadoo and
he didn't go. Whether personally or like indirectly through his aides or whatever, he didn't go to them and ask, hey, I'm the new guy, I'm just picking up where the last guy left off. Can I please have some more time? He didn't give them the respect, and he didn't go to them and say, hey, can I get more time? He declared it unilaterally. He said, I'm going to change the pullout date to September 11th of that year. And why would he have changed the date to September 11th? Classroom. Yeah. So he could have a symbolic victory, because a 9/11 happened 20 years ago. he wanted to have that symbolic victory. And so it's like, oh hey, like, and then word got back to those Taliban leaders and those local warlords, and it said like, hey, what the fuck? We had a deal, and Biden said, fuck your deal, I'm doing this. And then as soon as the Taliban fighters and the warlords started to mass their militias, that's when we had the panicked withdrawal in August. And that's when we had 13 service members dying needlessly because Joe Biden fucked shit the bed.
Billions worth of equipment left over in Afghanistan.
Not to mention. Right? Not to mention, leaving, because, and people wonder why, we left all that stuff. It's because Joe Biden thought he had until September. That's why. And why we left, all those, assets, like, interpreters and even American citizens behind, because he thought he had until September.
Because he's an idiot.
And I will totally grant some things Joe Biden had done may have been a success. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of any. But if there were objective successes done by Joe Biden, I will acknowledge them. All right. But
whenever I find them, I will acknowledge them. But there are none. As of right now, there are zero accomplishments by Joe Biden in anything that he's done.
But
maybe the crime bill back in the 90s, maybe.
The now racist
maybe
one, because he called all the black super predators. But these people, they will not grant one good thing that Trump did. All right, and they always have whenever they get in, like, I'm not the one that start these arguments. It's my friend, like the other kind of conservative person in the shop. But it's just like, they always go to him and say, oh, name one good thing Trump did, and it's like, Abraham Accords, Right to Try Act, no new wars. But they're like, oh no, that there are wars. What are you talking about? There's he dropped the bomb on Syria. It's like, but did that start off another war? Or did he start any new wars? Did we
for real?
Again, they brought up Afghanistan. It's like, yeah, we've been fighting that war for 20 years. That was already going on. That's not a new war. That's just a continuation of, and if you want to be really technical, that's not even a war, because like Congress didn't declare a state of war. All right, that was basically a police action. But and I also mentioned right to try, and it went completely over their heads, like it always does. Because they don't want to hear any good thing, or like the $1,000 tax credit, the one that Nancy Pelosi said it was just crumbs. And which I constantly ask, hey, could you use an extra $1,000 in your bank account right now?
Hell yeah, I could.
Right? And would you regard it as regard it as crumbs?
No, that's a fucking steak dinner for me, man.
But again, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear anything other. They don't want to hear any possible thing good that Trump could have done.
You know what's funny? I think about my parents a lot, right? And I know when I was growing up, my parents were about, maybe not my mom, but like my dad was about the same age I am right now.
When you were born?
And yeah, well, no, like, it's like my dad's gonna be 70 next year, so I guess he was about the same age I am now. When let's say I was like 6 or 7, I was young, before I had any impact on the world, really. But like my parents have been married for 33 years now. And early on in the marriage, things were tough for them, and obviously they had me, so that also makes things extra tough. And my dad was the breadwinner, and their finances were, we were always like, we weren't poor, but like finances were a struggle, right? And I kind of feel like I'm in the same spot that they were in kind of early on in like my personal life. and early on in their marriage. I'm at that point right now where I know it was a paycheck to paycheck kind of thing, and there was a lot of bills that had to be paid, and I know because my mom, God bless her, she would sometimes say like, "We are broke. We can't afford the things that you want right now." When she would tell me, I was like, "Oh, okay." So I just when I stopped complaining. To be honest, I actually stopped complaining after a while about like certain things just because, or I stopped asking for things just because I didn't know exactly what that meant, but it was something I was like, I know it's something important and it's bothering my mom and my dad and to a big degree. So like I think that's something I should
Yeah.
just leave alone. I'll stop asking for stuff. And I'm kinda that way now where, you know yeah, there's stuff that I would like for my birthday or for Christmas, but I just don't ask for
Right.
them anymore just because, like, I'm kinda in that same
Mhm.
spot now. But I get it now where things are tough, like, my wife is going back to school to finish up her medical degree so that she can be more, fulfilled with her life, and she's gonna to be honest, if she gets a job that she's
Mhm.
going for, she's gonna help make a hell of a lot more
Right.
money than me, which is awesome. I'm super excited about that. That's great. And that also provides an opportunity for us to make a better living for ourselves, to have a home and have kids and all that stuff. But there's a lot of people who they're kind of caught in this place where, had they been doing this 20 years ago, they'd be in a better off spot because things aren't so fucked up right now as they are right now because of dumb leftist policies that have just continued to erode at the middle class. So I look at the world now and I'm like, not necessarily struggling, but I'm itching out a living. And I think about people who are below me, and they're dying, dude. Like they're poor. They are
Yeah.
really
Yeah. And I
poor.
mean, if you
And then
just really quickly, what is it? Something was recently brought to my attention. What is it? There are these people in Pakistan who are essentially slaves. They're indentured servants, um, because as you can imagine, it's not there's not that much infrastructure in Pakistan, and so there's people that go into debt literally just to buy food. But because of the interest rates, they're essentially trapped in servitude, and it's multi generational. It not only affects the parents, but it also affects the children because the children eventually have to start working uh, to help out the parents pay off their debt. But because of the meager wages that they get from their jobs, usually from the debt holder, which a lot of times are like these brick making factories. Um, it's they can never get out of debt, and it's really sad because sometimes the debt in U.S. dollars is only $900. Like they're trapped in they're
that's
trapped in
insane.
slavery by less than $1,000. And we here in America and in the West, we talk about college loan debt and how people are trapped for like $50,000 or $60,000, but it's like imagine being trapped by $900.
That's Mount Everest for a lot of
Exactly,
people, for some
exactly.
people.
Um, so yeah, it's really heartbreaking when you hear about it. But yeah, I mean, you and I, Rob, we're we're pretty comfortable, even in our lack. We're still pretty comfortable. I mean, we have a roof over our head. We have computers, we have lights. Um,
I have food to eat. I have I have a roof over my head. I have my hobbies. I'm able to enjoy luxuries. And so I'm very grateful for what I have. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about my I have to kind of remind my wife sometimes, like, we have it pretty fucking good. The fact that we are even able to, like, sit down on a Saturday night and relax and enjoy a movie or whatever. There's some people that don't have that luxury at all.
exactly.
So we have it pretty damn good. Yeah, we might not always have a ton of money in the bank, but we have it really good compared to a lot of people right now. And, like, you have no idea the the problems that people are going through right now, where they're struggling to just stay in the house, or in some cases, they're out of their house, they're in their car, or worse, just because of dumbass policies that are putting people out of their homes, their business, whatever. And I think the COVID pandemic made that worse.
Hmm.
Because how many business owners went out of business because of that? And they had their entire life savings invested in that business.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a little distracted there. We had
No,
Yeah,
it's all good.
we had a comment from David Blake, friend of the show. You dudes, Harris just admitted to sharing national secrets with Zelensky. What the fuck? Yeah, not surprised. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, why wouldn't we be? Why wouldn't she? Because they're hand in fist with with Ukrainians, and they're just as bad as Russia. Like, they're the same fucking thing, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean the whole Ukrainian war thing. It's a money laundering scam. That's what it is. Um,
And
and we said,
there was
and
that
okay, just
and now it
before I continue, and I'm not saying that nobody's dying. I'm not saying that the deaths of Ukrainians is not
of course
tragic.
not.
All right,
No.
but I'm just saying that there's more going on, in that conflict than just a fight between two countries. All right, that's all I'm saying. All right, yes, the
Yeah.
loss of Ukrainians is tragic. Yes, Putin was the aggressor, but there are there are subtleties to why he invaded the Donbass region of Ukraine. There's I know this is your least favorite word, but there is nuance to this situation,
Yeah. Well, because it's been stolen by
right?
dumbasses. That's why. But here's the thing. Do I feel for Ukrainian and Russian people? Absolutely. Because there is loss there. But when it comes to the governments, do I like the Russian government? Absolutely not. I fuck those people. They
Right.
suck. Just like Zelensky and the Ukrainian
Yeah.
government.
I mean, talk about dictatorship.
Who
Talk about a dictatorship. He fucking banned all political parties. He consolidated all media under the state. Like he suspended
so
he's since the war began, he suspended elections. All right, so talk about your dictators.
he
All right, let's talk about dictators.
that's Russia 2.0. Because he wants to be the next
I know,
Soviet
but
Union. That's what he
yeah, but
wants
I
to
don't
be.
even okay, but I
He
don't
want
even think that he even has like like that kind of aspiration. You know, I just think so. I think
Of course he does.
I think
Of course
Zelensky is
he
just a
does.
useful. No.
Why does it? Why wouldn't
Because
he?
I think Zelensky is like legitimately an actor. I know he started off as an actor, but I think he's still an actor. All right, he's just a political actor now. You know, and so he's there to play a role.
He's an asshole. That's what he's a fucking former comedian who played the piano with his penis. That's what he is. He's an idiot who has fooled our dumbass government. Yeah, both on, and this is where like when it comes to voting, any people that have voted to give money to this fucking jackass, no, I don't want to vote for these people anymore
Yeah, and
because you're an
that's
idiot.
the Democrats or Republicans, because the Republicans are still saying this are also the ones
Exactly.
voting to send that asshole money.
And does that mean that I like Russia? No. But I don't. I'm done giving money to other countries right now. We are broke. We are broke. Our state is broke. Our country is broke. No more money to anybody for a while until we can kind of fix our debt situation and fix our country. No more aid to dumbass countries. Fix your own damn shit. Pay for your own defense. Do your own thing. I'm done with it. Like, stop giving me money to these fucking dumbass countries that, to be honest, don't give a shit that we're in existence.
Yeah, and I mean,
And they want
really
and
think
some
about
of these countries want us
really
dead.
think about it. Ukrainian is a really recent country. All right, after the fall of the Soviet Union, like in like 90. Okay, so from and Ukraine became like a recognized country like in the 90s. Your country's barely 30 years old, 40 years old.
And here's the other thing too. If you're looking at if you care so much about like what's going on in that part of the world, think about this. Uh Russia during Bush went into like that part of the world and made
Crimea.
created shit. During Obama,
Oh yeah, Georgia.
nothing during Trump,
Yeah, under Bush.
and now
Wait, was
during
it
Biden/Harris.
was it Bush that they went into Crimea or
It was Crimea and Bush, I believe, and
Georgia
then it
and
was
under Obama?
Georgia and now it's Ukraine.
Under Biden. Well, I mean, I know Bush. I know Bush.
But
Yeah, I
nothing
know
during Trump.
Bush. Yeah, I know Bush was a
Surprising.
Republican, but like they're all like all the globalists. You know, Russia started shit. All right, let's keep that.
I don't care about
the globalists.
both Bushes are not. Yes, they're Republican in name, but they're not really Republicans. They're not. They're just. They're the uniparty, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. Like especially like during like Bush, at least Junior and Obama and Biden, they're all globalists. You know, but yeah, Trump. He says like, oh yeah, that's the Kremlin's a nice building. You know, it'd be a shame if someone dropped a nuke on it. You know, I'm paraphrasing,
exactly.
but he like Trump like straight up like a gangster was like, yeah, it'd be a shame if a Kremlin was bombed, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like you could say all you want
when you actually
but
listen.
like no one was starting shit when Trump was in office. You could say like, oh well, they're planning behind his back and being sneaky. It's like, yeah, but they wouldn't try anything to his face. Why did they specifically wait until he was out of office to pop off?
And why do these world leaders like when they are asked, Well, who would you prefer to have in the United States in office? Oh, well, we want the Democratic nominee. We want Harris or Biden or whatever. It's like, duh. That's because they know that they can manipulate these fucking idiots. Because that's how they're gonna, be able to fuck around with shit.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, so I got into a stupid fight at work, and it's just so annoying.
I know, was it other friends of the show, Santa Claus and Dan the Man wanted us to like come over and have a barbecue and watch the debate and make fun of Comrade Kamala during the thing, but I was like, no, I don't know. I kind of wanted to do this instead. I wanted to do
Yeah, right.
something different.
Yeah,
We'll comment. We will definitely comment on
yeah.
the on
We'll talk about the
the debate
highlights
next
and the
week, but
lowlights. All right. 'Cause I don't want to sit through. I don't want to sit through like 2 hours of just like constant lying, and lying on either side. All right, because Trump with this like, oh, I saved 100 million people with my vaccines. Like, no, you didn't. Shut the fuck up. And
I will say this: he has definitely stepped away from that. Like, I don't think he's mentioned that at all.
yeah, I mean that's the one thing.
But he also hasn't. But the other thing that he hasn't done has acknowledged that, like, I made a mistake with this, and we need to come after these big pharma people because there's actually a lot of evidence that has come out against Dr. Fauci, and a lot of there's stuff going on with Dr. Fauci and big pharma and all that, where it was the NIH that actually may have helped develop the vaccine and essentially had the distributors of it were uh, Pfizer, Moderna, and all the Johnson and Johnson.
Mhm.
So it looks like there's evidence that have gone on, but that's a whole
Yeah.
nother story. But I know I've seen that just because how the world has turned, Trump has definitely stayed away
Mhm.
from that. He hasn't
Yeah,
even
yeah,
touched
yeah.
on that at all.
Yeah, because he got pushback, and he was like, "Oh shit, people don't like this." I mean, and
Yeah.
to his credit, good. I'm glad you learned your lesson in that, and that what is it?
Because I would say yes, that is a giant mistake from his office. He gave way, 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 way too much leeway to Dr. Fauci. Way too much.
Yeah, yeah, and him like pretty much promoting him was a mistake as well. He shouldn't have allowed
Yeah.
him any FaceTime to grow his profile. Although I don't know why you would have, like, with like the record that he has. I mean, not that I'm trying to save the gays or nothing, but like, yeah, he was killing gays in the '90s.
You can get AIDS from
Yeah, or
cereal
or, or,
boxes.
or sharing a toilet seat. Remember that?
God. Yeah. Is that why we have toilet seat covers?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I'm
I
not
don't
I'm
know.
not old
I mean,
enough. I'm
other
not
than the
old enough
fact
to
that
remember, but yeah, I don't remember there being. I mean, I was born in '84, so what is it?
that was at like the height of
Yeah,
the
so
AIDS
I was like
crisis.
5 and 80. I was 5 years old in '89, and I was 6 in 1990, and I honestly can't remember there being. I yeah, I can't remember there be. I don't remember there being toilet seat covers.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's uh there's a lot of toilet seat covers that are like kind of disgusting just because people pee
Yeah.
on them and stuff. So I get the toilet seat covers now, but the fact I have a feeling that back in the day there was some sort of level of yeah, we're not peeing on the toilet seat covers or carving shit up on the toilet seat covers or on the toilet seats. So I don't. I'd have to look into that, but I wonder if that's why we have toilet seat covers to begin with, is because of Dr. Fauci. If you don't have toilet seat covers on your toilets, then you're gonna get AIDS because you're gay.
Yeah, because I think that was legitimately one of the scare tactics that they use, or one of the lies that they perpetrated is that you can get HIV from sharing a toilet seat with somebody who was gay or who was HIV positive.
Or touching
HIV positive.
if you're touching anything that has anything to do with somebody with HIV. It's crazy because it's the same fucking tactics. This guy has been trying to do this for 40 fucking years. Been trying to create this like mass, pandemic level phenomena when it's stuff that can be easily treated or easily like not dealt with, yet you are creating this mass hysteria where you make people crazy to do what the government wants. That's what it is. Now it didn't work quite the way that he wanted back then or throughout like the 90s, but it certainly worked during COVID for some
Mhm.
fucking reason.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, I think a lot of that has to do with the Trump hysteria that was created in 2016, where I think people started to wake up to the reality that the government and things were against them, and there was a lot of pushback that people in government did not realize was going to happen. That did happen, so that's where like a lot of the enforcement arms came in through that during the COVID process.
Yeah.
Whereas they had not had that problem quite as much
Right.
before.
Yeah. David Blake, he affirms that. Yeah, that's why we have toilet seat covers now.
Is that
Uh,
really the reason? Did I just fucking like bring that up, guess that, and that's the reason?
that's what David says. He says, yeah, that's why we have toilet seat covers. Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense
it totally does.
to be
It totally
honest.
tracks. Totally tracks. Thanks, David.
Because it seems so arbitrary. Don't get me wrong. Public toilet seat covers are nasty.
Or I mean, just toilet seats. Yeah,
I completely
Toilet seats are
understand.
nasty. So yeah, some barrier between like the surface of a toilet seat and my butt cheeks. Yeah, I'm for it.
But you know what I don't have in my own home is fucking toilet
Right.
seat covers.
There
Why
you
is
go.
that? It's because of shit like this. So it makes a lot of sense in my opinion.
Well, I mean, we just got confirmation, so.
Well, if David says it, then it's definitely
Right.
100% true.
But wait, isn't David older than us too?
He
Yeah.
is older than us. That's
So
true.
he would have a better
he might
might have a
know.
better memory, or he might have more. Since he is older than us.
Now I should ask my dad. My dad
Yeah,
definitely
for
know.
sure. I asked my
But
parents.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, David says yes, I am. So he's like
It's
he
like
is older than us, so he would know, right?
he is
Right.
he is
Respect
older
your
than us.
elders.
I think
Respect your
he's
elders.
about cause I think he's I think he's 6 years older than me. He's probably like 4 years older than you.
Oh yeah, because we're
I think he's born in
okay.
80.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were born 86.
I might be wrong.
Well, we'll see. It
Yeah.
says he's 42. So he's 2 years older than me. He's
So
81.
he's
Yeah,
82
he's
then.
81. He was born 81. Thanks, David. Yeah.
81. Okay, that's right. Thank you, David. That's right before all that
Yeah.
shit started. So it's. But I still want to ask, like, my parents, like, did you guys have
growing
toilet
up,
seat
did you guys have
covers
toilet seat covers?
back in the 19?
Yeah. Ask them when they were
Yeah,
growing
back
up.
in
When
the
they were growing up, did
60s.
you have toilet seat covers? But,
In the 60s and 70s, were there toilet seat covers? Because I doubt there
yeah,
were.
so do I. All right. Yeah. You know what? Let's get into topics of discussion. Because we've been on like.
So
Yeah, we're on the opening
definitely
part of our show for like almost an hour now. So let's get into topics of discussion.
We threw into a tangent there, but that's okay.
We got derailed a little bit because of our passions.
It's fucking David's fault. That's what
David.
it is.
It's all your fault. No, David. I love you more than a friend. But anyways, yeah, let's.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, let's kind of we'll transition to the topic that's like kind of close to this. What is it? And there's been a string of news stories about migrants and how they haven't been very neighborly. We had the story of the Venezuelan gangs overtaking apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado, and just recently now in Ohio, there's been stories of Haitian migrants, you know, being shipped to the suburbs of Ohio, and they've begun to feast on the local wildlife, particularly duck.
Not just the local wildlife, but like people's
Well, I mean,
pets.
I was gonna get to that. I mean, and it's not just like they're going out and hunting for deer or whatever in the woods. They're going.
Oh no!
They're like going.
No.
Capturing geese and ducks at parks, and and just as Rob said, they're targeting pets,
Dogs and cats. Now I understand. So having you being Korean and my wife being Korean, there's that that stereotype with Asians, like, oh, you guys eat dogs, right? Blah blah blah. It's like, no, that's not what we're talking about here. There's a whole difference. Like, because I think you guys, when I think of people in Korea today who also have like a lot of pets, I know a lot of Koreans that have pets. People aren't eating people's pets. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. North Korea, that might be a thing.
I mean, that's like a completely different circumstance. They're legitimately starving.
Yeah, but in a civilized society, you are not eating pets.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, and this was the topic that kicked off the stupid argument at work today, because I was bringing this up, or me and my friend were talking about this. Like, oh man, this is crazy, right? Right. Oh, that's crazy. And then of course like our liberal coworkers like, oh, fake news. That's not happening. It's like you're talking points. It's like gay MAGA. I don't know why, but like. For some reason, he I don't know why he associates because he's like very much like a leftist like Dem, but like and they're supposed to love the gays, but for some reason he keeps using gay as a pejorative.
Yeah, and here's the thing too is that it's not a MAGA thing. Like no one on. So here's the thing. Sure, there was those memes with like Trump protecting like ducks and cats with like a machine gun. There was that meme that was going around, but that's not like in Congress. You had Eric Swallow was like so upset over that, yet never like mentioned anything about that crisis that's going on in Ohio that's real. But you have a lot of people that are let's be honest, they're not MAGA Republicans over there, okay? And like they're not talking about like I don't want these, fucking black people from another country in my state because I don't like them. That's not what it is. It's just like I know that like you are that the state or whatever is doing something to protect them, but who's protecting us? And you have black people who live in that area who are like, these guys don't know. They're driving cars into trash cans and houses and what have you. There has been an explosion of car incidents because of these
Accidents
people,
or
and
collisions.
you had a comedian, of all people, and you think this is a bit, but it's not. Where he's like, they are going into the parks and grabbing up ducks, cutting off their heads, and eating them. And people who have complained about how my pet went missing, and I found them strung up to the Haitians that are living next
Yeah, in the
door.
tree in the
And
yard.
these
Yeah,
people are also they're being given protection, and not only protection, but money from the government to buy these houses and buy these cars and
yeah.
have all this
Oh,
stuff. And it's like, what is the fuck
yeah.
is going on?
There was that church
And
in
they come from a country that
there's
is disgusting. It's a shithole, and they have not assimilated to this country in any means necessary. They don't they don't want to be in this country.
they want to be in this
They
country,
are
but they
here for
don't
the
want
free
to take
ride.
on our culture.
Exactly. So fuck those
Is it?
people,
Yeah,
as
but
far as
yeah,
I'm concerned.
there was that story of that church in Chicago, or I think somewhere in the Midwest, where they're like, they bought houses, they renovated them, and then they sold them to these like Venezuelan refugees. And they in the local news they try to spin it and make it seem like, oh yeah, this is the real American story. It's like, how you're giving away property to people who literally broke the law to get here. Make that make sense to me.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't make sense. Like, there's
there
so
was also the story of like the woman who's like who the some Haitian refugees or whatever moved in next door, and like her cat went missing, and one day she found it up in the tree, like dressed like you would a deer or a wild boar, after you killed it, ready to be barbecued. Um,
that's listen, I'm that is fucking
yeah,
horrible. I'm sorry. Like, as a pet owner, if someone did that to my dog, I would kill them.
yeah, much retribution, much
I just
retribution.
it's like we have a whole fucking film series with John Wick, who went on a fucking murder spree because they killed his
Right,
dog.
right. Yeah, and then
So
you
yeah,
have the videos of the city council meetings with these exasperated citizens who are just like, you keep you keep stepping over us to go help these illegals, and then all it's done is brought crime and made our neighborhoods worse. And there's this one woman who's begging the city council, give me a reason to stay. Give me a reason to stay. And it's like you could hear it in her voice, just like how tired she is of all of this crap. And like she's
I mean, she's
yeah,
lived
and
there her whole
she's lived there her
life.
whole life, and
Her whole
she's
life,
desperate
she's been
to have one reason to stay there. The place where her family is probably from, right? Where her family goes back, where her family probably goes back several generations.
yeah, exactly. It's like it's fucking nuts. And then, like I said, what's going on in Colorado too? It's the same fucking thing. Like you have these horrible gangs that are running through Aurora, Colorado, and doing these home invasions and ripping people out of their apartments and if not killing them, stealing their apartments.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I've probably
Because
mentioned this
it's
before, but it's like, people.
but all cultures are the same, right, Andy?
Right,
All
all cultures are
cultures
the
are the
same.
same.
There's no one culture that's better or worse. But yeah, it's like there's that study done. Can't remember the specifics, but it's like, yeah, it's like people when they're shown evil, or when they're shown um, injustice, in movies, they're like, oh yeah, that's so obvious. Yeah, like that's wrong. That's injustice. I can't believe, like, that was allowed to happen. Of course, I'm thinking uh, specifically Captain America, Winter Soldier, and also Dark Knight Rises. Where it's just like, Bane comes in and he starts like this socialist revolution, and you have that scene of, people being ripped out of their apartments, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's God. Oh God, that's awful. It's like, how could it's like, that'd be horrible if that happened in real life, and it's like, it's happening in real life. It's like, oh, that's fake news. That's not really happening. Fake news. Or like,
Yeah,
or like, politicians are saying the quiet part out loud. Like, recently Chuck Schumer, God, what did he say? Uh, but
I'm sure it was
yeah, it's
something
like, yeah, he
dumb.
basically admitted to something, that, yeah, basically saying the quiet part out loud. Basically, and then, like, and you see all of, like, this infiltration um, in our government. I mean, God, I mean, talk about, for some reason, the Democrats have a problem with Chinese spies. I mean, you have Eric Swalwell, you have the late, what's her face, Dianne
And
Feinstein.
Feinstein.
I think there was recently another Democrat politician who, like, had a Chinese spy in their employ. But, like, you have, like, all these infiltrations, and it's like, oh man, how could this let that happen? And then I'm thinking to, Captain America: Winter Soldier, where it's like revealed that Hydra infiltrated Shield, and they're running, in the background, and just like, oh yeah, that's totally. I was like, oh man, I can't believe that happened. It's like, oh, that's horrible that happened. And then you see, all of these infiltrations happening in our own government, and it's like, oh, that's nothing. Oh, that's, it was only a few, people. And it's like, yeah, you have ranking
Well,
members from, from the Senate who have Chinese spies, within their employ.
I mean, like, literally, this has been happening for 100 years. This was happening back in the 20s when the Russian Revolution, after the Russian Revolution happened, where you had communist spies coming into the American government. It was happening. We think of like the Red Scare as this thing that was just something that, oh, it's so horrible that the American government's going after people who said they were part of the Communist Party. It's like, well, to a degree, there were some false allegations that happened, yes, but there was a lot of people that were actually implicated, that they were real communists, that they actually created huge problems in our government that shouldn't have happened. And but the fact that, like, once the quote unquote Red Scare was over back in, I think, the late 50s, you think that shit stopped? Absolutely not. It happened throughout until the Soviet Union fell. And now it's with we had our government with, unfortunately, the one really bad thing that Richard Nixon did is to, get in with the Chinese and try to make them not communist, which they already were. And yet you are cozying up to them and you prop them up, which created the problem that we have
Yeah.
today. And to think that they weren't part of the government back then and infiltrating our government back then, and we joke about Eric Swallow banging a Chinese spy, or Dianne Feinstein having her driver as a Chinese spy. Like, what the fuck do you think was gonna happen? That's what's going on. This has been a thing that this is not a thing that just started happening, like, like 5 seconds ago. This has been a 50-year plan that they've
Yeah.
come up
And I
with.
mean, yeah, even what is it? They even reference it in the movie Captain America: Winter Soldier as like Operation Paperclip. We literally invited Nazis into this country to help start NASA. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, look it up. Werner von Braun, basically the man who started NASA here in America. He was an SS colonel. I mean, no, SS major, and he worked at a and he was the commandant of a labor camp.
And Daily would like
Yeah,
hang the
and he's
slowest
slow and he
Jew.
hanged the slowest worker. All right, I'm not, and this isn't an exaggeration. All right, look it up for yourself. All right, and this is readily available information. All right, if you look it up and you find that I'm a liar, come and call me a liar to my face. I will take it. All right, you show me the evidence that I am wrong about this, I will admit it. But I know I'm not. All right, the facts of it. The facts of it.
And this
That Werner
this
von
was
Braun was
all,
an SS major.
yeah.
He ran a labor camp, and he started NASA. All right, those are the okay. Look up those three things. All right, if you could show me that I'm wrong, I'll admit it publicly.
That's why like the Nuremberg trials and then like the movie Judgment in Nuremberg is such a it's such a depressing thing because to a degree, the Nuremberg trials it was a
Mm-hmm.
scapegoat. Okay, yeah, we got some of the big guys, sure, but we also kept other big guys that we wanted who were helpful away from the thing, and other guys, sure, they were put to trial, but there was a point where those guys didn't end up fulfilling their sentences or they weren't put to death. And I mean, I still believe that the fact that Hitler did not die in that bunker, and he was a helper to the American government to root because the new threat of communism, who he hated, he was a big help in aiding that effort. It's funny. There was a whole bunch of shit that was declassified about 10 to 12 years ago that like now I can't find any fucking evidence of. So I don't know where it got scrubbed or whatever, but there was a lot of stuff where Hitler was involved with our government after he was supposed to have been dead.
Oh yeah, that's right. Although there's a funny joke. I forget who said it, but it's like it was like, could Hitler have been really that bad? I mean, he did kill Hitler.
Yeah. There's actually there was some I saw something on
For those of you who
social
didn't,
media not that long
yeah, for those
ago
of you who didn't
about
get the joke, it's because Hitler committed suicide. So it's like, could Hitler have been really that bad? He
right,
did
oh
kill
yeah,
Hit. He
right,
did
yeah,
kill
right.
Hitler.
Yeah.
But,
Now I'm not saying like Hitler's like the greatest person ever or whatever, but like there was something online recently that talking about how maybe a lot of people are revisiting this book about how we shouldn't have been in World War II, and actually I think I have the book. I haven't read it yet, but essentially it's about like it was a war that we should never have been involved in any way with the US, and it was kind of a way to get us involved in this like world politics that we're in now with the UN and all this like globalism, and a lot of people are like starting to come to that realization. So it's kind of interesting. I'm gonna have to read this book because I've heard it's very interesting. I actually own it somewhere. I
Yeah.
have it
Well, I
somewhere in my
mean, yeah. I
library.
mean, yeah.
I gotta
The
dig it out.
kind of the players that we that some people might be surprised, like Prescott Bush, like funding Hitler's campaigns and stuff. For those of you not aware, that's George Bush Jr.'s grandfather.
Yes,
He
sir.
was a money man. Him and J.P. Morgan were funding the Nazis. And also,
Yeah.
for those of you, I know, yeah, Holocaust bad, but there was some
What?
I know, right? I know. There's some people that say the Holocaust bad, so I have to.
That's
But
insane. What are you talking about, dude?
but yeah, but there was there's some new evidence coming out that Hitler was actually trying to fund uh, Israel. Like, I think this was like sometime after. This may have been sometime after the wait. I forget if this is before or after the Balfour Declaration, but Hitler was actually trying to get the Jews out of Germany, and one of the ways was like, all right, I'll help you fund Israel. Yeah,
What?
yeah,
That's insane. What? That would change the fucking narrative,
yeah,
sir.
exactly. I mean, I haven't looked that much into it, but like, like if true, very completely shatters the narrative around Hitler.
Yeah, it
Because it's
really
like,
does.
maybe he did want to get the Jews out, and maybe his first attempt was to go and like, all right, you guys want Israel back? All right, here, let me work some things around. Let me move some money. Let me move some Nazi gold around, and give set you up so you could establish Israel again. If it's true, whoa,
That's
yeah,
wild if that's
yeah.
true.
Again, if it's true, I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying if true, wow.
And that changes the narrative. Yeah, but I've also it's weird. I've also seen a lot of when it comes to and this is true just the
Mm-hmm.
history in general. Uh, there's been a growing anti-Jew
Mm-hmm.
narrative. There's also been a very very pro-Jew
Mm-hmm.
narrative, and it's these like growing factions of that. And it's kind of weird. There was a really interesting interview I saw with Richard Nixon talking about
Mm-hmm.
Israel and the Jews and how America should
Mm-hmm.
deal with that. And I highly recommend you guys go to the Richard Nixon Foundation
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel and just listen to what he has to say. Because as an American, it's very reasonable. Because it's not like I don't hate. No, it's not about hating Jews or like, we don't want them or anything like that. No, that's not what it is. But it is like, okay, if you have people who want to be with Israel and there's like this super pro-Jew lobby and all that stuff, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But what do you do about that? And the reality is like, okay, I understand your stance on like wanting to protect Israel, but that is also not
Right.
our country. And and if there's something that is in our benefit to help protect them, sure, we'll do that. But that is on it is on them to protect themselves. And this is 72, I think that this is like right after he became president. So that Israel at this point is somewhat well established, although they've had their conflicts, whatever. So, but it's at the same time, he's like, no, it's on them. They can protect themselves. Why am I'm not going to commit American troops to protect them or whatever, but I will if there's something where America needs to get involved because it's against American interests, sure.
Right.
I'll be there. And it's a very diplomatic response that people probably will be like, "Oh, it's Richard Nixon's talking about it. Well, he's an anti-Semite bastard, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. Listen to what the man has to say and think about the historical context at the time of when this interview took place.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, nowadays people aren't willing to afford such graces. They're what's the word I'm looking for? Too entrenched. They're too entrenched in their positions to even I mean, that's like the same problem I have at work, where it's like, I'm certainly open to, hearing the other side and, if reasonable and at least it can be substantiated with some sort of evidence or proof. I'm willing to switch. I'm willing to, augment my position. But the other side, like I offered the most minimal pushback, and they're like, "No, wrong, Nazi, gay MAGA, all the ists, all the phobes." I get.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too, like when it comes to this stuff where when it comes to these foreign conflicts, like as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with foreign conflicts. Like we need to focus on this country because our country is in shambles. I'm done with this. Has nothing to do with Israel because all the right people that I can't stand hate Israel. So I'm like I said, I like them as a country. I like them as a people. I have nothing against the Jews, but at the same time, it's like you have the strength to protect yourself. So go at it. I'm all for it. Go for it.
Yeah, and but the only thing I will say in criticism is I don't know why. I don't know why the church is so invested in the state of Israel, and I think
there's no reason for us
really,
to be.
like I really don't. I really don't understand.
And I'm not saying that we should like hate.
No, exactly. I'm not saying that we
I'm
should
not
hate
saying
them
that we
either.
should rip out the Old Testament and like throw that away. I'm not saying that like there isn't a place for Israel in itself within the biblical context when it comes to like revelations and there is something. Israel is not dead as what God wants them to do. God still wants something to do with his people, with the people of Israel. That is still a part of something. It's just not. It's not our time right now.
Right, and there's some.
So I understand that.
There's some, big names on the Reformed evangelical side that have stated that because I'm of the belief that because everyone cites like, oh, if you bless the Jews, then God will bless you.
No,
but and I don't mean that like worldly or monetarily or financially, right? I do think that God does have a plan for the Jews, but I think it's through the Gospels, through the message of Jesus Christ and the cross, and that way, and it's to bring the Jews to Jesus, and I do think that the church is the new Israel, spiritually, the church is the new Israel. Because it's a pattern. Because God always uses a remnant, right? He always carves out something for himself, like whether it's Adam and Eve, or it's Noah, or it's Abraham, or Isaac, Jacob, David, so on and so forth.
Ooh, I see. That's where you and I might have a disagreement there.
I know you're a dispensationalist.
And this is probably more. That's the reason why.
I know you're a dispensationalist.
Now
but I think but I think
like.
but I think that Jesus is overall, okay, and and there's some.
I do agree with that, but here's the thing, I don't think that God is done with his people. We are grafted in. The church is grafted in. We are a different branch that has been, which is of all the people that does not incorporate his initial people who have rejected him. for a variety of reasons. And so there is a pause on that. But that doesn't mean that they're still not part of
Right. Yeah.
his
And
plan.
I'm not saying,
And
but yeah, but I still think it's through Jesus.
it is always through Jesus. That we are in
Right.
agreement with that. That is absolutely true. But like I said, there is maybe it's semantics or whatever, but I think it's a different theological viewpoint there, where I am very hesitant to say that, oh well, what we are the new, you know, elected people of Jesus Christ. I don't think that that's completely true to a degree. I don't think Jesus is done with the Jews.
No, I mean, and I wouldn't think
Just
so. I
because
don't think so either. But again, I'm still, I still, I would, it's, yeah, of course, God wants his people for himself, and and I think he wants them through himself, through the mechanism of Jesus. Right? I mean,
yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Like, and so like yeah, and so we can all be again, we can all be under the airship, yeah, the airhood, the airship, of Jesus Christ, and that's how we become, how we then like become like the grander Israel, if that makes any sense at all.
like in the at the end game of all this, yes, we are all going to become like essentially one tribe.
Right.
It's not going to be split up or anything like that. It's going to be one tribe
Hmm.
under God. That's really what it's going to become. But as of right now, just based off of like what we're
Hmm.
dealing with, ooh,
Yeah.
I'm slightly uncomfortable theologically with exactly what you're saying,
I
but
mean,
that's
I
just
mean, but
me.
and I don't, yeah, and like the whole like church, the church is the new Israel. There's some high level preachers who have said that they think that is somehow anti-Semitic. I don't think that's anti-Semitic to say that.
No, and I don't think that you are. I'm
Yeah, I
not
know, but I'm
saying
just
that
saying
either.
like
I'm just
but to
saying that
cast someone who says that like, oh, the church is the new real. I'm not saying like ethnically or biologically. I'm saying spiritually, we the church is the new Israel.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So and again, because we're all because like if once we all become under the blood of Jesus Christ, then yes, we are all covered. We all linked by the same blood, which is Jesus Christ. And so in that way, that's how we become one tribe, one peoples.
You're not like ripping out your Old Testament and just
No, of course not.
disregarding
Yeah,
it altogether.
yeah, because no, of course not.
Okay.
Because the God, cause Old
All
Testament,
right, then
yeah,
we're
because
okay.
in a sense, because because in the way, because the only way, because like because Jesus gives us the model of how to incorporate Scripture, right? And he's constantly referencing the Old Testament, which then in turn makes those Old Testament scriptures into New Testament into gospel passages, right? So
It's true.
it's linked.
So,
Yeah.
like I said,
Yeah. So again, I'm not.
yeah,
Yeah. Don't get me
there are
wrong. I
people
am
that
not disregarding the Old Testament. We can't have the New Testament without the Old Testament. All right. Okay.
right. I'm just saying there are Christian sects that will rip
No, of
out the
course
Old
not.
Testament. It's
That's
like I don't need
foolishness.
this
That is
shit.
foolishness. All right. That is utter. Okay. Let it be stated here, right now. That is, to say that Christians don't need the Old Testament is utter foolishness. All right. All right,
Yeah.
because
Okay. All
because
right, then
Jesus
we're
Christ
good.
Himself is the one that kept referencing back to Old Testament, the old Scripture, right? To prove that He is who He says He is. So how can we then say like, oh, we don't need those anymore? Of course we need those. All right, that's the foundation of what Christ became and what we ultimately have hope in. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then
Don't get it
then
twisted. Don't
then
get
we're
it
good.
twisted, Rob. We can still be friends. All right. We can still be friends.
I know we can still be friends. I'm not gonna like even if you said something like really fucking crazy, I'm not gonna just like disband you. It's like, well, I guess I'm done being friends with Andy.
I mean,
You're not diddling kids, like
no, but I
you know,
mean,
it's like,
yeah, but what if I was to hold a theological position that you don't hold?
I would disagree with you, but I'd still love you.
Okay. All right. What if if I said that Jesus wasn't God, can we still be friends?
Well, that might be a different story.
All right. Just so I know where the line is. Just
Because
so I know
then
where the line is.
the line is like if you're gonna like denounce Christ and like talk, well, first of all, I would probably say that you were never a Christian to begin with, and then with that, I would still say that we're probably still like really good friends. I just don't agree with your theological viewpoints, and I still love you. So I don't know. I don't think that it would take a lot for you to just not be my friend anymore. I mean, if you were touching
Well, I mean,
kids
yeah, but
in
I'm like,
a
yeah,
inappropriate manner,
yes.
that
I'm not trying to go
then I'd
that
have to
extreme. I'm
kill
just
you.
like, I want to, I'm testing the boundaries a little bit. So,
No, but let's say if you were saying that, like, I actually don't believe that Jesus died on the cross, I would just feel like, well, okay, then you probably were never a Christian to
all
begin
right.
with, but you and I have had such a long relationship, and I love you as a brother that I'm not going to just toss that away. It's like, okay, maybe I can work on him a little bit, but he has his own crazy ideas, and I'm just going to have to deal with that.
All right, yeah, just so I know where the line is.
The line is there's not much of a line. It's like it's like a little it's in crayon, so it's easily
Oh no, crayon is
erasable
kind
or
of fucking
wiped
hard to get
off.
out, dude.
That is, and that actually is true, especially if like wax crayons. Wax
Yeah,
crayons
yeah,
are hard to
exactly.
get off.
All right, the
This
line
current
isn't
crayon, these current
the
crayons
line
are
is in dry erase marker
yeah, that's more fair. Yeah, dry erase marker
at the
at
moment.
the moment.
Yeah.
Until you start touching kids, then it's gonna be in fucking like concrete.
All right, just so I know where the line is.
Just you know where the line is. That's right.
But yeah, God, I didn't even know how we got here, but it was a fun conversation. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, because we were talking about initially. We're talking about
This is what happens when you
migrants.
deal with crazy
Huh?
leftists. This is what happens when you deal with crazy leftists. It turns you a little bit
Yeah.
crazy too. Like your coworkers who were talking about like the migrant crisis and choosing just not to
Yeah.
accept it
I
at
mean,
all.
to be fair, it was just one guy. It was only one of them, and he's pretty out there.
One guy that speaks for thousands
Yeah,
of
that's
people.
true. That's true. Yeah, his opinion is the opinion of thousands upon thousands of people. So
And also another powerful force in the legacy media. While we make fun of them, they're still a powerful force
yeah,
because people believe that they are a true force of authority
and I
and
mean
truth.
even like their linguistic warfare is just so on point. Someone brought this up. I was watching a video about but just how strong the tactics is on in their linguistic warfare is what is it the AP style editor, not like fashion, but just like
Hmm.
how the AP is like what words to use, what motifs. Yeah, in their
Associated Press,
writing,
yeah.
like how powerful it is that the AP know when covering pro-life like rallies or whatever, they never call them pro-life. They always call them anti-abortion. And it's
Yeah.
just like they will never utter pro-life because because pro-life because life has good connotations, and so if you give if you and then you add pro there to as the prefix, like pro-life. I am pro-life. then it's like that's like that's a double positive in in linguistic terms. It's like I am pro-life, as
Exactly.
opposed
Yeah,
to
you're right.
saying as opposed to saying, oh, these guys are anti-abortion. So you have
The other
anti,
thing,
which is uh, connotatively negative. So it's like anti, and then abortion, which is a bad thing. So again it's a double negative, the opposite direction.
the other, yeah, the other thing too that's also I think very disconcerting is that there's a lot of people that will stick to one source, right? So if you watch CBS News your whole life, you're probably gonna watch CBS News,
Yeah.
or if you're ABC, you're gonna watch ABC, or CNN, you're gonna watch
Right.
CNN. You're not going to watch a multitude of sources or look to a multitude of sources. And what a lot of people don't realize is that why are they all saying the same thing the same way in like almost the same fucking cadence? And the other thing with that is that, first of all, you can say, oh, well, that's because it's true. So everyone's going to say the same thing because it's true. It's like, no, that's not necessarily the case, because there's a lot of cases where a lot of people say the same things, or they'll take something that's not true, they'll put it out, but just because maybe it's a rumor and everyone kind of thinks, and because all these sources say it means it's true, and it's not really true. And I deal with this when I'm doing movie reviews and I'm trying to come up with I'm looking at the trivia and I'm looking at different sources, and there's a lot of lies that come out, and that just becomes the truth, and it's like, well, that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
When I came to my Dead Presidents review, I was looking at a lot of different sources, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, our directors were black, and so they didn't get to say what they really wanted to say, and that's because the studios were against it because they're black." And it's like, bro, that is not what happened at all. Especially when you actually look at the first-person sources, specifically the directors themselves, who or saying like, no, they threw so much money at us, it was ridiculous because they wanted us. There was no pushback, there was no resistance, and our film was not as good because there was no resistance. And every podcast that I saw on Dead Presidents talked about how, like, oh, well, they were so biased because they were black men that were they were directing, blah blah blah. And there was like 10 of them. It's like, what the fuck is going on? That's exactly what's happening in our news cycle, is that you have a bunch of people it's like there's this one source which is bullshit, and they are saying the same thing over and over and over again because that's what they want to be true. And it's not true. That's what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, and it's kind of telling that how much they're afraid of uh, of opposition. Like even because like if you think about it, every every uh, every network is a leftist network. All right, let's just be clear about that. All right, you could say like, oh no, like they're neutral or not. Like, come on. Was it just recently? ABC was rated, and they had like 100% positive, 100% positive coverage for Kamala Harris, and they had 93% negative for Trump, meaning that you know so they had zero negative things to say about Kamala Harris, but they only had 7% nice things to say or positive things to say about Trump. All right, that's bias. All right, but it, but you have to remember, in a sea of leftist news outlets, Fox News is the lone dissenting voice. More or less. Fox is the only conservative leaning news network in a sea of leftist ones. So like it's the leftists who are really afraid. I was just mentioning that how scared leftists are of pushback or of opposition, because If you think about it, all networks are leftist networks. There was that report that came out recently that ABC, they had 100% positive coverage for Kamala Harris, but they had 93% negative coverage for Trump. So they had zero
Yeah.
negative coverage for Kamala Harris, but they only had 7% of positive coverage for Trump. And you're telling me
Yeah.
that like they don't have a bias. That they're so afraid of dissenting voices, dissenting opinions, that even one lone network, and I would say it's barely Fox,
Barely. Yeah,
barely,
barely.
like super barely, like the one single dissenting voice is enough.
It's
Is
like
enough
it's
to
like 1 degree to right.
yeah, one
One
degree to the right,
degree.
like from and that's like already like from like kind of like on the left too. Let's be real, all right. Fox is like they're not centrist. They're 2 degrees. They're 2 degrees to the left, but 1 degree. They're
They're
one
center
degree
left.
from this from 1 degree right from that left position. Um,
Yeah.
so, but you have to admit, like the weakness of the leftist position, that even having one semi dissenting voice or opinion against them is too much for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, anything else you want to add to this topic?
No, I have nothing else to add to that. We kind of we definitely strayed from what we were initially
Yeah,
going to talk about, but I think it was also important to talk about the stuff
yeah,
that we
yeah, yeah.
talked about today. So
Agreed, and it made the stream more interesting.
that is true.
Yeah, I mean, because we hit it all, like immigration, Nazis, but
Yeah,
Israel,
Israel.
theology. We hit it all, baby. We hit it all. All
Yeah.
right.
Well, I would feel that we would be remiss if we didn't pour one out for the great James Earl
Yes, indeed.
Jones.
Those of you who are unaware, veteran, screen and stage actor James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, the voice of King Mufasa from The Lion King, uh, the man who played King Joffrey Joffer in Coming to America.
Coming to America? Fuck yeah, dude. Field of
Field of
Dreams. He's
Dreams.
in Doctor Strangelove. He's in that. One of his early
Is it The
roles.
Sandlot?
Just so The Sandlot. So many iconic roles, and to be honest, because of him, he sold his rights, and Disney will have the rights to his voice forever. So he will live on forever, in perpetuity. That is going to happen.
Wow.
But so
Man,
whether good or
it's
bad, but
if you in the most positive way, like to spin this, it's a testament to his love for Star Wars.
that's the way
Right?
I look at it. Is that he really cared about the character that much that he'd be willing to
Right?
even
Like
do that.
it's like and like I mean, and I think he knows he had well, back then George Lucas and now Disney. I know he knew he had him by the balls, because his voice was so associated with that character that any other voice would just not do.
Well, and it's funny because now there was I forget the account on X who was putting out a this scene
Mm-hmm.
comparison of the initial the actor under the
Right.
suit who
Yeah.
was also going to be
The
the
body
voice
actor
actor.
David Krause,
That
I think it is. Yeah.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, like I think he should still be
Mm.
thought of because he's still important to
Right.
the
Yeah.
character.
Because James
But
Earl Jones gave the character a voice, but David Prowse gave him the movement.
yeah, bingo, exactly. Because James Earl Jones is not under the
Mm-hmm.
cape and cowl. That's the point, and so it's like the two of them gave the character a lot of prowess. Now, that's the one thing I do not like about the special editions is where they essentially just erase that fucker out of
Oh yeah, the
existence in
credits.
Return of the Jedi at the end. I think that is a horrible discredit to Dave Prowse.
Yeah, because when they swapped in Sebastian Shaw, which you know I kind of understand, but yeah, it's a fucked up thing to do to David Prowse.
It really is. It's fucked up, man. But other than that, like it's kind of he's 93. He's lived a great life. He's been in a lot of great movies. Wonderful actor, just a wonderful person in general. If you've watched this the Sting, his father
Oh yeah, that's right.
was one of the main actors in that. So he has a long lineage of acting and just a wonderful human being. And it's sad to see him go, but at the same time, I love the legacy that he's left, and we can always, just like any past actor who's passed us by, we can enjoy his filmography and just enjoy him as a person. And really, with James Earl Jones, he will literally live
Yeah,
on forever. That's just he will. He's
yeah,
never gonna die. We will hear his
truly.
voice in perpetuity. After you and I are dead,
Yeah.
long dead, he's still going to be voicing characters. Just don't he's going to be there. Don't worry.
Okay, I lost.
He's going to
Yeah,
outlive
yeah.
us, Andy.
Oh yeah. I
That's
mean,
the
I recently
true
caught a rerun.
sentiment of James
Yeah, I
Earl
recently
Jones.
caught a rerun of The Big Bang Theory, which he appears, and it's funny because
Right.
one of the characters goes and like kind of interrupts the dinner, and first he kind of comes up as like kind of the big Hollywood type where it's like let me guess, you like Star Wars, and then it's like you think he's gonna be like a douche, but then he's like, so do I, and like with all this energy and vigor and just like it's like
I have a feeling that James Earl Jones really did
yeah,
love
yeah,
Star Wars, and I
exactly,
love the fact that he was the
yeah,
voice of
yeah,
Darth
exactly,
Vader. I think he loved the fuck
yeah.
out of that.
No,
That's why
exactly
I
to my
think that's
point.
why he
Yeah,
sold
that's
his
exactly to
voice
my point.
rights.
Where it's like I don't believe in that scene he was acting. I think he was being himself, and it's like yeah, dude, I want to talk about Star
Yes,
Wars all
yes,
the
sir.
time, and just and he and like the character yeah, and he like embraced the character, and I mean not literally embraced, but he extended an invitation to sit with him at the dinner, and you share stories, and they had adventure. They went on like a bit of adventures. Like they even like did a ding dong ditch on Carrie Fisher, who also made a guest appearance on that episode.
That's
Yeah,
right. I
yeah.
forgot about
It was
that.
great because Carrie Fisher, it's not funny anymore, James, because she like immediately knew who it was.
That's right. I forgot about that episode. Oh my god, that's so good. That was one of the best episodes of
Yeah,
that series.
very very enjoyable.
Well, it's the same thing with Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner and the Star Trek crew also kind of fell into that where I think initially they felt embarrassed by their
Oh yeah,
roles, but grew to realize that people weren't making fun of them. They were legitimately realized that people loved that they love those characters. It's like, oh my gosh, like we have made an impact. Let's just
right. Yeah,
embrace
I
it.
think
We're not going to become the A-list, Hollywood actor, whatever. But at the same time, we are still important, and people love what we have done for
yeah. I
them.
mean, I think
Star Trek meant a lot to people, and it's the same thing for Star Wars. Mark Hamill was not a huge actor. He became a good voice actor and all that stuff, but he's not an
yeah,
A-lister. But a lot of, I mean, recently he's kind of become an asshole, but like to a degree, he has meant a lot to so many people. Alec Guinness, another, which also is a travesty because he's done so many other great roles that people forgot about because of the impact that he made in Star Wars. That's the
Yeah,
reality.
and I mean, I think it was
I mean,
yeah, and it was speaking to Star Trek. Yeah, it wasn't until like the conventions started popping up like organically, organized by fans, that they realized what an effect that they had on people's lives, and and going and
right.
interacting with these people that like love them, for their work, for what they had done. They finally were able to come to a peace, and like, yeah, like, I mean, Leonard Nimoy, how many times has he reprised the role of Spock? Like, I mean, he reprised it during Next Generation. He reprised it again for the J.J. Abrams reboot.
In the
Yeah,
J.J.
yeah.
Abrams universe, yeah. And to be honest, like William Shatner, he says, like, listen, if I can play Kirk one more time, I got it in me. I want to do one more. I want to do it. I want to reprise the role one more time. That's how much he fucking cares about the character now.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, initially he was,
And I don't know
he
if he
thought, he was really embarrassed by that, by that character, by that role. Even to the point of being, jealous of Leonard Nimoy because, Spock, became like the fan favorite character. But, that didn't mean like no one, that, he didn't have his own fans, which he, later discovered that he did.
Still the greatest captain in Star Trek history, but that's
Yeah,
just my opinion.
I reject the false binary.
I know you
reject
disagree.
the false binary of Kirk or Picard.
I'm not a false
I know,
binary guy.
But, okay, I know. That's just your preference.
Not...
I get it. He's your preference. All right, but Sisko is my favorite captain.
I like a swashbuckler captain.
And
okay,
and I'm more of like a captain with a bit of a pimp hand. Which is funny because Avery Brooks did play a pimp on Spencer for Hire, or like some.
That's right.
Yeah, which is hilarious because
now here's the thing:
the first couple of seasons of Deep Space Nine, the executives made him grow out his hair and shave his goatee because they didn't want the association of that character from God, what was that show? I just said it. Spencer for Hire. Yeah, they didn't want that associate because that was like his natural look. And so for the role of Captain Sisko, at least in the first 2 seasons, they made him grow out his hair, shave his goatee, because they didn't want that negative association. But after,
so they essentially didn't want him to be associated with blaxploitation films.
But after the show proved itself, they're like, all right, you can do whatever you want. And then from season 3 on, you start seeing the Spencer for Hire Sisko emerge more. Like, he grew out his goatee, and then he shaved his head, which totally made him a badass.
I'm definitely gonna get
there.
All right,
hurry to get there because I want to talk about. I want to talk about Deep Space Nine. All right, I want to talk about Deep Space Nine because it's an amazing show.
As soon as I get to Deep Space Nine, we will make a week of it for sure.
Okay. I mean, I will admit though, the first 2 seasons are kind of rough. I will admit that.
I don't care about that. Okay, I don't care.
I'm just preparing you because like a lot of Trek, it takes some time to get them, get itself under their feet.
I know, like Next Generation initially was like the first season was rough, but after that was just beautiful. It was gung-ho, awesome.
But yeah, so just warning you, similarly, Deep Space Nine kind of goes through those growing pains as well. But it does get there. I promise you, it does get there.
All right. Just off of your recommendation, Andy, I'm gonna stick through it. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna stick through it. Because I think Voyager was before Deep Space Nine, right?
It followed. Because of the success of Deep Space Nine, and how Next Generation was kind of ending, they liked the idea of concurrent Star Trek shows, and so after Next Generation closed out, they went into Voyager. Yeah,
Deep
well,
Space
like
Nine.
Deep Space Nine was concurrent with Next Generation until Next Generation finished off. But then, yeah, they like the idea of having concurrent Star Trek shows.
Okay, so Voyager and Deep Space Nine were kind of happening at the same time, and Deep Space Nine was kind of happening towards the end of Next Generation.
Yeah,
That's what you're
exactly.
telling me, right? So if I watch Deep Space Nine after Next Generation, I'm kind of going around it the right way.
Yes.
Okay, got it. That's all I need to know.
All right. Well, but really quick, where are you in Next Generation?
I'm at like the last two seasons.
So you've already seen the best of both worlds, right? Where
Yes.
technically you could start Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Because
all right.
yeah, because that episode has a profound effect on the character of Cisco.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I didn't think about that, but okay. All right.
But if you want to be a completionist, yeah, finish out Next Generation. But you can, since you've seen Best of Both Worlds, you can begin Deep Space Nine if you wanted to.
Okay. All right. I might do that. I'm watching right now. I'm watching the Jack Ryan TV show on Amazon. I'm on season 3, which is, to be honest, is fucking great.
Yeah.
But I think after that, I'm gonna finish up Next Generation and move on Star Trek.
All right, but yeah, I'm saying but if you watched that, if you Best of Both Worlds, that was like in season 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think so.
It was
I think you're right on that.
Cliffhanger, so it might have been the first episode might have been in the last episode of season 4, and it might have wrapped up in the first episode of season 5.
I think that's right, but I it's been a while, so I might have to go look.
Yeah, but either way, if you watch Best of Both Worlds, then yeah, you could watch Deep Space Nine.
But yeah, just wanted to give some respect to James Earl Jones, who clearly loved Darth Vader as a character, and we'll hear his voice in perpetuity. Also, he's not just Darth Vader. He's so many other great characters in movies, maybe even movies that you don't realize. I mean, he's a fucking Soul Man, for God's sakes, which is a movie that a lot of people want to forget. That we should definitely
Thomas Howell.
We should definitely fucking we should definitely fucking cover that film on this channel.
Hell yeah.
For sure. But God, that is a wild fucking movie, and we definitely need to cover it.
But it's so funny because it's still kind of pertinent today.
It's so it's like the Rachel Dolezal. There's
Mindy Kaling's brother.
Yeah, Mindy Kaling's brother.
Shaun White.
You also had
Sean King. Sean King.
Yeah, thank you. Sean King. Yeah.
I still love that. I still love that joke from Owen Benjamin, where he's like, "Yeah, I want to bring slavery back just so Sean King admits that he's not black."
Seriously, because he's not. He's not black. I'm sorry, he's not.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it's so hilarious.
All right. What is it? Did you still want to cover the Jenna Ortega thing?
Yeah. Let's do that real quick, because that's not gonna take too long. I just wanted to talk about Jenna Ortega is definitely one of the hottest actresses, not only physically, but just in Hollywood in general. Like she's someone that a lot of people want in her movies, and I find her attractive. She's a very attractive actress, but she's also a very talented actress.
I mean, I wouldn't say hot, but she's cute.
I think she's
cute.
Okay, agreed. She's cute, and what I'm find very intriguing about her, because she's still very young in her Hollywood career. But what's also interesting too is that she's also not just a deadpan paying tribute to like whatever the narrative is type of actress. Now, let's be honest. Politically, her and I are probably never going to agree on anything, and that's fine. I don't care. Because be honest, as far as if you're a good actress or a good actor, don't really give a
I
shit.
mean,
I really don't. I
a
don't
point
give a
to Jenna Ortega is like I don't really know what her politics are. She doesn't really pop off about them. Yeah,
perfect. I
which
don't
again is a
care.
point to her. So yeah, like which a point to her to
Another
making
point.
her more attractive to me is because like, I don't know what her. I mean I could guess. I mean being a Hollywood actor, you're probably, um, you're probably you probably can categorize generally as a left leaning person, if not like full on leftist. But like I have no idea. I can't be 100% sure because she has not
I
popped
think
off. Because
she's
she has
more
not
to the
popped off like uh,
yeah.
like Brie Larson or fucking Lena Dunham or Chelsea Handler. I don't know. Like I don't know what her position is, which is what I love.
You mean she hasn't attacked her? She hasn't attacked the fans for not agreeing with her like wholeheartedly. Oh
Yeah,
my
which is
gosh!
funny
Like
because like
that's
yeah, like
yeah.
it's funny because like when she did the Wednesday show, the Addams Family spinoff, like she like that really catapulted her because
Which
which
people
people
love.
love, and like
People love
she
that
didn't come
show.
out and like denigrate anybody. She just let like she just let the memes commence, and like like the memes of the people doing tributes of like the dance that she does in the show. It's just like great. Like she didn't come out and say like, oh, why are white people doing this dance? No, she just let people do the dance and do the tribute, and that was it. And that was great. That was lovely. She didn't come out and
Yeah.
specifically
So
denigrate a demographic of people.
so here's a couple of things about her that I find very interesting. So her she's part of she came into the Scream franchise with another actress. I'm forgetting her fucking name, to be honest. And her Scream partner who came out, who was very pro Palestine, and ended up being, because of all the stuff that was happening in with the stuff that was going on in Israel with Palestine coming in and kidnapping a bunch of people, blah blah blah. She came out very pro-Palestine and was fired off of this. She was essentially fired as the actress on Scream. Now, Jenna Ortega, before that happened, came out as like, listen, I may not agree with whatever somebody says, but I don't think that we should cancel people based off of what they say. And when her co-star was fired, she's like, "Well, this is stupid, so I'm gone." Like I'm a dot on the screen. Like fuck it, I'm out of here. I don't want to be a part of this if that's what's gonna happen. And she says like, I don't think people should be canceled based off of like what political viewpoints that they have or blah blah blah. That's been her. That was essentially her viewpoint that she put out in the public, which I think is great. Now, her political viewpoints, I probably don't agree with. She's a 23-year-old girl at this point. Like, we're probably not going to agree on anything, and that's fine. But the fact that she, as a Hollywood celebrity who has, some power to a degree with her platform, the fact that she would say something like that, that's very powerful. That's especially being very young in her career, that she would say something like that. And she has consistently come out and said stuff that has gone against the grain, which I also think is very good. She's in the new Beetlejuice sequel, Beetlejuice, where there was photo ops with her and Winona Ryder, and the paparazzi is coming off and saying like, "Oh, take off your glasses, Winona," blah blah blah, and she's like, and she kind of says to her, it's like, you don't have to do that. Fuck these people, essentially, and just like, do what you want to do. If you want to wear your glasses, wear your glasses. We're just gonna take a couple photos, and then we'll be on our way. Don't worry about it. That's also powerful. And also in an interview, because of the new movie that's out now, she was asked about female representation, like why that's important. She's like, yeah, that is important. But here's the thing, like, because she was asked about, like, because this is a Tim Burton film, it's like, would you be willing to play like Edward Scissorhands? Like, no, I don't want to do that because that's stupid. I want to play. I don't want to. I don't want there to be a Jamie Bond or
Yeah.
like these gender swap stuff. I want to. I want to have cool original female characters that are badass. Like,
Right, and
because we've
also,
talked about this too. It's like
because it's like, who wants to?
we look at like Ripley. We look at we look at Terminator. We look at Aliens, and we look at these cool female characters in Sigourney Weaver and Linda Hamilton, who are bad fucking ass. We like those characters. Or you can look in Japanese cinema, Lady Snowblood. Um, uh, what the fuck is her name? I'm like drawing a blank on her name right now, but she's also like Meiko. I think it's like Meiko Kashi. I could be wrong on that, but like
Yeah, the
badass.
actress that played Lady Snow.
There's cool fucking
Yeah, and it's
female
like,
characters.
who wants sloppy seconds?
Yeah,
It's like, and
exactly.
also who wants to play just another version of a character that already exists? Like Edward Scissorhands is such a unique character with a unique origin. Like, why would you then like rehash it, but like as a woman? Like, what does
Just like
changing the sex of the character do anything?
it's the same thing. It's lazy writing for what it is, and it's the same thing with like any like race or gender. Like I don't want a race swapped male character to a female character or a female character to a male character, or if you're or like a white character to a black character or a black character to a white character, which will never
Well,
happen, by the way. Although it kind of did if you look at MIB
yes. The
International.
only time, okay, the only caveat that I would give for doing such a thing, as long as it's pertinent to the story, right? I mean, I think the best example of race or gender swapping, at least on the small screen, would have to be Battlestar Galactica. All right, the reimagine. Yeah,
That's the
but
only
it
time
also
that that
makes
has
sense
worked.
for everything, right? Because you had, yeah, Starbuck was played
For
originally by a
Starbuck.
man. And in the original series, Starbuck and Apollo, they had a good relationship, like kind of like slightly like rivals, but like more like brothers. But in this one, it was Starbuck was switched to a girl, and it made for more tension between Apollo and Starbuck because they have like these romantic feelings, and
Oh my God, did it
they had like
ever?
this unrequited thing going. They had that the whole will they won't they thing, which made the story a lot more interesting. And also with Boomer, originally played by a black man, was then switched to an Asian woman, but it made sense for the story because
Oh my
she
God.
became an infiltrator, a spy essentially, for their grand plans. And also,
Yeah,
just let's talk about the one of the only time.
one of the
But yeah,
sexiest women ever, by the way.
and let's talk about the only
Oh my
time that
God.
a race swap happened in the opposite direction. Because in the original Battlestar Galactica, Colonel Tai was played by a black man, but then they switched him out for a white man, Michael Hogan, and it worked because it
Dude,
fucking
he
worked
fucking
because of
killed it.
who they made the character out to be. This grizzled alcoholic, marriage problems, kind of officer on his last tour. When all of a sudden a war breaks out and he's thrust back into having to be an active soldier, and it's just like, and it works so perfectly.
Fuck it. That is I think that is the only show or movie or whatever that has
Right.
done
Yeah,
it
and
right.
because it was done smartly,
And
all right, because they really thought about the character. They
yeah,
really thought about, okay, if if Starbuck is becomes a woman, what does that do with the relationship with Apollo? Oh, I know. Let's do a whole requited will they won't they thing, and they have this like tension between them. Boom.
It may be the best show
Yeah, I
ever.
know it's a
Like,
bit bleak.
literally.
Don't get me wrong, it's a bit bleak, but it's fantastic storytelling.
Yeah, it might be the best show ever just because of that. Like, to think that they really thought through if okay, we're changing it from the original, which was not really well received. It
A
it
single
didn't run
season,
very
yeah, single
long.
season.
I like it. It's fine, but the fact that they brought it back, which also ran several seasons, so that means that a lot of
Yeah,
people
I mean
really,
to the point where
caught
other
on to it.
shows were kind of uh, not lampooning it, but like they were making it part of like their show, like Portlandia. Where it's like this couple they discover Battlestar Galactica, and they're like constantly, oh let's, oh one more episode, one more episode. Watching it on DVD, it's like oh one more episode, one more episode. And to the point where they actually got, yeah, and then
That's exactly
to the
how I
point where they
felt.
got Ronald D. Moore, the executive producer and writer, who also cut his teeth doing Star Trek shows like Late Season, Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine. Like he made an appearance on the show, like being a parody character. Like he played Ronald D. Moore, but not the Ronald D. Moore that wrote Battlestar Galactica.
That's fucking
Yeah,
hilarious.
I mean
That's
that's
awesome.
that's how powerful the reimagined Battlestar Galactica was in pop culture at the time.
Yeah, but what I think is really powerful about her coming out and saying stuff like that is, one, she's
Oh
still
yeah, yeah.
very young in Hollywood, and she clearly does not give a fuck. And maybe that's part of her being
Mm,
kind of a horror
yeah,
icon at the moment, just because and she's
yeah.
clearly embraced horror, and she's not scared to embrace it. Where
Right,
like a
yeah,
lot of
they're afraid to
actors
get
who
pigeonholed. Yeah.
have become huge Hollywood, yeah, I don't think she's become pigeonholed because she's done other stuff. But the other thing is, like, where we have a lot of our big celebrities who got their
Hmm.
start in horror, but they're embarrassed to say that they were part of those movies. Where Jenna Ortega is like, no, I'm very proud of what I've done, and I may continue to do that. Like, she does
Yeah,
not
I
give a
mean,
fuck
yeah,
about what anyone
because the
says,
mentality is
which is
flawed. Because
great.
despite her politics, Jamie Lee Curtis, she started off as a scream queen, and then she moved on to comedies and rom coms and action movies. Uh,
And she finally ended up winning
yeah,
an Oscar
exactly.
for her performance, which is great. I'm so happy
Hmm.
for her that she won that Oscar. It's great. She deserves it. Dude, I had to say, True Lies is probably her best movie. It's so
Right. Yeah, and
goddamn
again,
good.
yes, and it's such a unique story about like a spy, but he has family problems, and just like it's just like
That it's so goddamn and the crazy thing, it's 2.5 hours
yeah,
and it feels like an hour.
you don't feel the time watching that movie.
No, you don't. It's crazy
Hmm.
how fast that movie moves. It's awesome. But I'm blown away by a young Hollywood actress who's not just buying into the bullshit, and she's clearly comfortable saying
Hmm.
exactly what she feels and not caring about what people think about what she feels. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's a
and I
good
mean,
sign. Because right now she's one of the hottest
right? Yeah,
commodities in
she's very
Hollywood right now.
popular. And I think takes like this are just one of the things that are helping her helping to endear herself to fans. And yeah, and just
I mean, to be honest, just by her work, the movies I've seen with her in it, I'm a huge fan. I really like her. I was looking, it's like, because we've talked about this, like, what are the next generation of like good actors that we can look at as, oh, we saw their start and like we're gonna see them like rise to stardom and all this stuff. I think Jenna Ortega is one of those actresses that we're gonna look at as like, damn, like what a amazing actress that has all these accolades that we're gonna be watching for generations. She's one of those people. Like I'm damn sure that we're gonna see her in a bunch of films. Whether they be like maybe some of them may not be like the best films of all time, but because she's in it, it makes the movie better. We're gonna look at her like that. And so I like X and she was brought into the Scream franchise. Miller's Girl came out recently, which is a interesting movie to say the least. That would be interesting to talk about with you. Uh, Beetlejuice, which is a legacy sequel for sure, but I think she fits into that, and I've heard good things about it. There's a lot of buzz around it. So yeah, I look at Jenna Ortega and I'm like, yeah, I already like her as an actress, but the fact that she's coming out and saying stuff like this is exactly what you and I have been talking about. It's like, we like female characters. How many times have we talked about movies that have great female characters that are cool and we like? We just like them because that's the vehicle for them. They don't have to be a damsel in distress. They can be tough, bad characters, but it's not like you're trying to replace James Bond or other male characters that we really like. You're creating your own thing. It's the same thing with like the whole race stuff. Like, stop race swapping people out. We want to see a cool black character. Like, one of our favorite movies, Andy, is Boss with Fred Williamson.
Yeah,
Like,
Boss
it's
Nigger.
a
All
black
right,
film
say the whole
with
thing.
black characters. Okay,
Fine, I'll say it for you. It's Boss Nigger. All right, and don't you forget it.
It's a blaxploitation film with black characters, written by a black man, produced by a black man. That is the greatest blaxploitation comedy western of all time. It's the greatest blaxploitation film of all time, easily, in my opinion. I put it over Shaft any day. As much as I love Shaft, because I do love Shaft.
All right. Yeah, but I think there's a new wind wind blowing in town. I'm not talking meteorologically. Uh, what is it?
Yeah,
The
but I'm seeing it with the
Well, no, I
directors too.
mean,
Like, there's
no,
something
I'm not just talking about
happening,
the
man,
work. I'm
which
just
is
talking about
great.
the attitude of actors. I mean, what is it? Recently, um, people actors are becoming a lot more uh, free to kind of speak more openly. I mean, little a little bit to do with politics, but I mean, there was that recently that interview with Elton John and how he was, they asked him like,
We didn't care about Trump, like,
yeah,
using
in
like
reference
Little
to his
Rocket
song
Man.
Rocket Man. He's like, oh yeah, yeah. He's like, yeah,
He's
that
like,
was great. That
I
was
found it
hilarious.
funny.
And then even recently, the usual idiot himself, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, came out with something about how yes, Trump was always a fan of wrestling and WWE, and he was always he always come see us at Madison Square Garden, and it's like it wasn't like glowing praise, but it was deferential. He's just saying, yeah, Trump's a cool dude. He came to see me a lot. You know, and I think more and more
Yeah,
actors are
he's not like he's not
more
a
and more
horrible
actors are
human
getting
being.
leeway to just speak openly. More openly than at least like in the last few years. So yeah, and I really think that this is going to be a positive trend. And hell, someone might come out and say
I think having
something
like
I absolutely hate. Not like they already haven't. I'm looking at you. Oh God, I can't even remember her name. But the one, that comedian girl that was like, all about shouting your abortion. No, 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 no,
Ali Wong or
no. She was
whatever.
like,
I
she was
forget.
like a light skinned black girl. Something Wolf. Yeah, this is how irrelevant she is now. But you know,
I'm forgetting.
that I can't even remember. I can't
Yeah.
even remember her
But
name. But yeah, she said like some
Yeah.
disgusting things to me. But like like that was just incentivized me not to support her work. But the things that Jenna Ortega is saying definitely makes me want to support her work. And like, yeah, I know he's a puff, but the thing, like him just being like, deferential to Trump, like makes me kind of like Elton John a little bit more. Because he's not, because he wasn't saying, he
Yeah,
wasn't being
like,
deranged and be like, oh, how dare he use my work to how dare he reference my work, you know?
yeah. Here's the thing though, like if with Elton John, he's so established. Like he doesn't. There's no there's
Yeah,
no incentive either
yeah,
one way or the
he's
other because
made
like
he's a made
he's made
man.
his money.
He can't be touched.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jenna
so
Ortega,
yeah,
however, is
right,
like fresh in the industry, so she
right,
is
right. So
taking a
yeah, definitely
risk by
more
saying
props to
what
Jenna
she's saying.
Ortega. But I think
That's why I'm like,
yeah, it is
wow.
significant. It is significant.
And the thing is, I've heard other interviews because she is a cinephile to a degree. To a degree, like she's not like she's not just like a dumb young actress. Like she clearly is intelligent and she watches films and she thinks about what she's doing. So that's why I to that degree I respect her a lot. And like I said, I probably will never agree with her politically, and that's fine. I don't care. But the fact that she is an influential person who is saying that like I don't want to play these race swap or these gender swap characters. I want to play my own character that people can resonate to and be the quote unquote representation that you guys want with Latin or female representation. That's what I want. Like that's and maybe she hasn't had that role quite yet to a degree, but the role she's played, man, she's fucking killed it, man. I don't think she's been in a bad film that I can think of. Um, there's been some uncomfortable films for sure. Like Miller's Goal is very uncomfortable. It's very
So is there a lot of
uncomfortable,
sexy time?
but I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. Uncomfortable sexy time. If you watch it, like we should cover it just because you should watch it, but it's uncomfortable.
Great.
With what's his face from Lord of the Rings, one of the hobbits
Oh.
from Lord of the Rings too. He's in it. Dude, there's some really like what the fuck is happening in this film? It's so messed up. A lot of uncomfortable stuff going on there. But you know what? I like the daringness that she's willing to go to like a film like that. A lot of people in that film. I don't feel it's like one of those artsy fartsy. Let's just push the envelope because I feel it's a well written film that is just uncomfortable
Right, so it's not
because there's
gratuitous.
some reality to it.
It's
No, it's not gratuitous. It's just
it's purposeful.
there's
It's
a
purposeful for
the
story.
film
It's
that's just
purposeful for the
very
story.
uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll have to cover that because it's very controversial.
I bet it is. I bet it is. All right. Anything else to add to?
Nah, let's get to our movie review and we'll
All right.
call it a
Let's
night.
get to the movie review. Reminder: tonight we're reviewing Thirst from 2009 from director Chan-wook Park, starring kang-ho sang. Let me.
It's our fourth Chan-wook Park film in like the last couple of months.
Let me hit everyone with the.
We went from covering zero to a lot.
I'll hit everyone with the synopsis and we'll get going. Sang-hyun is a Christian priest who is, in order to help find a cure, volunteers infected with a virus that's devastating Africa. He's left with an intense craving for blood and sex. As a hospital visitor, he can quench his thirst for blood, and an intense affair with the unhappily married Taeju provides him with a sexual outlet. As the relationship develops, Sang-hyun is left struggling to hang on to his old morality.
What an interesting
Indeed.
vampire
Yeah,
film
because it
that this
doesn't deal
is.
with like the superstitious or like the woo-woo kind of stuff. Um, but it poses a very interesting quandary. Which I think is can evil serve good?
Yeah,
You know.
he, it's it is one of the that is the big struggle of the film because our main character is one that's his whole goal. He wants to do the best that he can do in his position, and I don't know if we ever like really learned the motivation of like why he puts himself through medical experiments. Was it to test his faith that like God would protect him?
Yeah, that's the one part I didn't understand
Maybe.
either. Like, but I thought it's because he already had the disease. He didn't have the disease.
No, he didn't.
Okay, yeah, I was confused.
But
I was
he
confused on
was
why he
he I
participated either. But then I thought it was because he already had that disease. But okay,
no, he didn't. Yeah, because Sanghyun, I think he felt like he was wanting to do something for good, and he heard about this facility in
yeah,
I think it was like Africa, and he wanted to join these medical trials to make. I think it was like really to test his faith that God would
uh-huh.
keep him healthy. And but he was also a person that believed in God utilizing science in creating vaccines and whatnot, and so that's why he went down there, and through that he ends up catching the disease, the EV or whatever it was called, and which require like eventually what it does is like it creates all these like sores on your body, and they're happening internally as well, and you end up like coughing up blood, and essentially you bleed to death internally. That's how you die as with this disease. And so they're doing a blood transfusion on him, and unknowingly they give him essentially vampire blood from a person we never see
Right.
and we never hear about, but this is like vampiric blood that heals him of his disease to the degree that he has to continue to feed on
To keep the
people
disease at
to
bay. Yeah.
keep the disease at bay. So it's like and to a degree it's a temporary cure. And that's where like our movie starts is like he realizes that it's the blood the lust for blood is what's going to keep him alive. And we find some of the vampire tropes. He's sensitive
He
to
has heightened
sunlight.
senses and agility.
He I think that's yeah, it mainly
Right.
sunlight
Not
is the issue,
crosses. Yeah,
not
not
and the
crosses
thirst
or
for blood.
silver or garlic. I mean, shit. Could you imagine being a Korean vampire and not, being allowed to eat garlic?
Oh my god, like he would die. I don't think you could eat
Yeah, I
Korean food
know.
without garlic.
hence the quandary. Hence the quandary.
So there's that issue, and so he ends up getting the vampire because he
Yeah.
essentially resurrects from the dead, which is a miracle. And so that's kind of and so there's this whole group of people who essentially become the how many Koreans do you know that are like this, that just like, oh my god, someone did like a quote unquote miracle. We're going to huddle around this person and like, oh, we want you to pray for us, and like you're a miracle person, and miracles happen around you. We're gonna pray for you, blah blah blah. Like, I can't count on two hands how many like Koreans that I know that are like that. But you have this whole contingent of the church that believes, because he's one in like they now it was like 50 people that were there, but they elevated to 500. And 500 that survived this disease, and God healed him, and he's a super priest, and if he prays for us, we're gonna be healed too. And has this literally this whole encampment outside of his I guess like I think it's the hospital
Yeah,
that
like
he works at
hospital slash
as a
yeah, monastery. That's the word.
monastery. So, and he's very uncomfortable with that. So he goes off and leaves those people, and he's dealing with some like sick children, and our main character, so he is a orphan himself, so he helps deal with children who are sick and all that. Friar Sanghyun, who's the Catholic priest, and there's this Ajima who is knocking at the window while he's dealing with the kids, and it's like, my son has cancer, can you pray for him? And for whatever reason, I think he ends up like, okay, you broke through the barrier, so I'm gonna help
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
really
And
where the story starts.
and I guess it turns out that like he knew the guy because they were old like childhood friends. Um,
Yeah, because the guy, I think his name is, let me look it up here.
mm,
Kang-woo, who he
mm,
felt bad for orphans, and so he would regularly bring them home to his mom, who was like, okay, we'll feed them and we'll befriend them and all that stuff, and that's how he ended up knowing the family. Now, did the mom the mom seemed like she didn't remember him initially, so I think
yeah,
this was
yeah,
just
yeah,
like a
exactly.
chance encounter that she. Yeah, it didn't feel like she was like, "Oh,
Yeah, yeah. You
I
remember
know
me? Yeah,
you,
I gave
so
you
that's why
noodles, man.
I'm
Come
here."
help pray for my son. Yeah, it wasn't one of those things. It was yeah, she was like
Yeah,
she just heard about this guy and like didn't even know until like the son recognized him. I was like, hey, you're that kid that I used to bring home.
yeah, it's like Mrs. Ra, who well, let me tell you, that family dynamic
Yeah,
is fucking weird. But the relationship between her and her son, and we find out with like Teju,
yeah,
fucking weird. Because it sounds like, so Kangwoo and Mrs. Ra, uh, no dad's no dad's around. Who knows how long the dad's been gone? And so that dude is
the mama's
a
boy.
yeah. I don't think he had
Oh
cancer,
yeah,
to be
it might have
honest.
been what is it,
I
Munchausen
think,
by proxy?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Mm,
That's exactly what I was thinking.
yeah. For
Munchausen by
those of you
proxy,
not unaware, Munchausen
and
by proxy
she,
is someone who uses the ailment or first of all, uses the ailment of another person to make themselves uh, look good. So like yeah, like so a mother who who takes care of her son, but who kind of feeds off who's kind of in a weird way a emotion vampire, an energy vampire who sucks off the accolades and
oh, dude, that's exactly what's going on. She is an emotional vampire sucking off of the attention that she gets
mm,
by her son being sick, and this is a vampire film. So I have a whole feeling now. I'm glad you brought that up because I have a feeling that's exactly what Park
Mm,
Chan-wook is going for here. She also is and she's also at the same time sucking the joy out
mhm.
of Teju as well. And she like wants to kill the son who she's been forced to marry, which I don't think that that was a legitimate marriage.
Right.
She didn't want to marry that person, and her parents abandoned her, and it's to this like family. Oh my god, I'm so glad you brought that up. Crazy that you brought that up because that is exactly what's going on.
Mhm.
She is a vampire herself.
That's why you keep me around, man.
Dude. No, it just
Yeah.
makes me love this movie even more because there's so much, and this is also a Park Chan-wook film. Of course, there's a lot more
Right.
going on
Yeah.
that I'm
And so
not
yeah,
seeing right away.
Munchausen by proxy is yeah. So you basically become an energy vampire, and you feed off the accolades and the attaboys or attagirls from people saying, "Oh, you're so selfless, taking care of your sick kid or whatever." I mean, sometimes it can be that like the kid is actually or like the person the person is actually sick and and they're taken care of. But some of the times it's it's self-induced. Like another example of this, like Munchausen by proxy, is in a bad way, is in Sixth Sense with the little girl and the
Yeah.
stepmother
Yeah,
who like
exactly.
who poisons her food to keep her sick.
Yeah. And she was trying to do that to
Yeah,
the younger
and
sister
yeah,
too.
what is it? And then, but more recently, there was a TV miniseries that was made about a real life example of a mother who like basically convinced the daughter that she was sick, but even though she wasn't sick, so that she can get the accolades for like, oh, you're such a good mom taking care of your daughter and blah.
Was that the Lila Rose story or whatever?
Who?
What the hell was her name?
Yeah,
Because she
yeah,
ended
yeah.
up
That yeah
killing her
might
mother,
be.
right? I think that's Lila Rose.
Hold on, let me do a quick search here. No,
Not
yeah,
Lila.
that's
No,
the pro life activist.
that's somebody else.
Mm,
I just listened to a
yeah.
podcast about her story too. It's like,
Who's the White House?
I'm looking
Damn.
up right now. Like,
Da, 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 da. It's the one with that young actress, Joey King.
oh yeah,
Let's see.
yeah.
Oh, The Act. Yeah,
It's
the
fucked up,
show was
man. Like,
called The Act.
uh, okay.
Yeah, let's see. Biograph biographical crime drama, television series limited
Yes.
to 8 episodes. The plot is based on the life of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and the murder of her mother.
Gypsy
Yeah,
Rose.
yeah,
Yeah, I knew it was something Rose.
yeah. Who is
Yeah.
accused of abusing her daughter by fabricating
Yeah,
illness
Gypsy
and
Rose.
disabilities as a direct consequences of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Dude, like she manipulated her illness, she manipulated her age, and like essentially would use her daughter to gain all this fame
Mm-hmm.
and fortune by oh my god, it's so fucked up. And like essentially like put her in a wheelchair, even though she didn't need a wheelchair. So just really horrible shit. And a lot of people they felt sorry for her and they bought into it, not knowing what was going on behind the scenes. And it's just this really fucking horrible story. And that's exactly what's happening in this movie. That son does not have
Yeah, because
cancer.
otherwise, why isn't she taking him for cancer treatments, and why does he still have his hair? Because presumably he'd be on chemotherapy.
Yeah. Oh, and all of a sudden he's just healed. Now I'm not saying that can't happen.
Right.
God is a miracle worker. That's not what happens in this movie. That is not the point of this movie. That is not what's happening here. This is a manipulation. Now, to what degree, I have no idea. Maybe she. I really have no idea what the motivation of that mother is, other than keeping her son under her thumb because her husband either died or left her. Most likely left her because she seems like a fucking crazy person. And at the same time, she's also keeping her daughter-in-law
Yeah,
under
he's
her
like,
thumb
oh,
as well.
isn't she
And
so
treating her
lovely because yeah,
they treat her like a
but
puppy.
she's the one that rescued this girl and took her into her own home and raised her as her own. Yeah, she's an energy vampire.
Yeah, and she legitimately said that she's not only a daughter to me, but she's like a puppy.
Verbatim.
She treated her like a dog.
Yeah, I mean,
verbatim.
making her work
And
at
then we have
the hanbok place, the traditional gown shop that she owns, and then always catering to his needs. Always changing out his hot water bottle and whatnot. Yeah, which he doesn't need. Although, do you think he actually was cold, or did he convince himself that he was?
No, I think it's all. No, I think that his mom for years has convinced him that it's like, oh, you're so cold. Let me warm you up. And it could be 90 degrees in that room. That guy's gonna be fucking
Actually,
cold.
yeah, that's that.
Because everyone else is Everyone else is sweating their ass off, but he's cold.
Right.
Why is that? Well, except for the mom. The mom is not, because maybe she has grown accustomed to the farce that she is putting on her son, but everyone else sweating their fucking ass off. And the newcomer, the priest, Sanghyun, he's like, can we turn down the heat? That's how you know that this is all manipulation. To be honest, the whole family, and we'll come to find out that there's a lot more than just the family manipulation, but another character that we we feel sorry for ends up also being a manipulator.
Yeah. Teju, yeah, she ultimately, she learned her lessons well from her, adoptive mother.
But what do you? So we also have Sanghyun's mentor, the blind friar. Yeah, Friar Rowe. What do you think about him?
I mean, I would categorize him as a pretty bad priest. Yeah, because I mean,
Is a bad priest?
Because what is it when they're talking about him going off to do that drug trial or whatever? It's I can't remember fully, but he's just basically say, oh, what if it makes me start doing bad things? And it's like, oh, I'll just give you absolution. As opposed to be oh yeah,
But it seems it seemed like he was against him
Mhm.
initially going over there at first, and it's like, and I thought Sunghyun asked like, "Will you give me absolution for going over there?" Because he felt like it was the right thing to do because that clinic was not approved by
Okay,
the
yeah, maybe I'm
church,
remembering wrong.
and so by Sunghyun going over there was
Yeah.
not church approved. And so, Friar Rowe, who's his like mentor, he asked him, was like, "Oh, well, will you bless me going over there because I feel it's important?" And he says, "I'll give you absolution," which he does give him later on in the
Right.
film as well for another reason.
Yeah, but
So that's what I
okay.
think is going on there. But I also felt like he seems to, I think, be attracted by the power that Sunghyun ends up developing, knowing that he has lived through a miracle. And blood is also a very important thing, and it's no coincidence
Yeah.
that these guys were Catholic priests, and the blood of
Right.
Christ is super important, right? But Sunghyun's blood seems to also be very important in this film, and everyone that has some sort of affliction or problem, Sunghyun's blood is
Yeah.
super, super important. And because he's the quote unquote miracle worker, him desiring the blood off of others is like, whether they're in a coma or they're alive, they're willing to give it to him
Hmm.
because of that. Like maybe because he is a
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus like figure.
Oh no, absolutely, he's a Christ-like figure. I mean, like early.
And maybe that's an indictment on the church that people are thinking that Christ is essentially sucking the blood out of his own people. I don't know if that's what Park Chan-wook is going
Yeah,
for,
it could be an
but
interpretation.
maybe the pessimist in me is that is an interpretation. Just that's the pessimist in me that maybe
Right.
that's what he's going for here, or the fact that it's just kind of it's a play on the idea of like what we are the essentially we are the bloodsuckers. We're the vampires of Christ, that we are stealing the purity of Christ. That
Yeah,
could also be an
I can see that one too.
interpretation.
Yeah, but I don't think he was a very good mentor. Especially at the end, when he's like, when Sunghyun's at his wit's end, and he's like, just give me your blood, just give me your blood, so I can see. I just want to see one time. Um,
Has it now? How long has he been blind? Like 20 years, 10 years,
I wouldn't,
his whole
maybe not
life?
his whole life, because he has a longing for the return of his sight. Not that he like. I just want to see one. Like I just want to see one.
And
Yeah,
he
exactly.
knows what the
Right.
sunrise
Yeah.
is. He
That's why I
knows
say
what the
like yeah.
sunrise is. Okay, so I would say he saw at one point, but like so I'm gonna
Yeah.
say like 30
Sure.
years. He hasn't seen in 30 years.
That'd be a safe bet. Yeah. But yeah, and but he also is covering in a funny way. He's covering up his sin, but not like with his blood, because he offers Sangyeon a drink from his blood, so that um, he doesn't indulge in his murderous urge.
Yeah, that's really interesting too. Like he's willing to sacrifice himself
Hmm. Hmm.
to a degree for Sunghyun. I found that fascinating. There's a lot of people that are like now. So we have our guy in a coma that we meet at the beginning of the film, who seems like a sacrificial guy, who clearly loves too many treats. And even though he talked about a story of him one time in his life giving up his treats to some young kids who were starving. That's like,
I know what a guy, what a
wow,
guy.
okay,
I know.
great on
And
you,
he's
buddy.
a little bit more on the rotund
What a
side, so
guy.
it's like, yeah, that was a sacrifice.
And so he ends up becoming a vessel for Sanghyun's
Yeah. So in a way,
bloodlust.
he
We
is a bit of a
literally have it
sacrificial lamb, metaphorically. Because
right.
because he's as gentle as a lamb. Oh, I gave up my custard one time to these starving kids. Like, see how gentle I am.
Yeah, and and you there's that woman who it looks like Sunghyun paid for to give him blood.
Oh no. Yeah, I know. I thought that was because that person was suicidal, and that she didn't want to, because I think she was also a believer, so she couldn't commit suicide because that's a sin, and so he essentially takes her life through drinking blood. Yeah.
Oh, he gave her absolution. Oh shit. Was she one of the group at like the
Maybe, but
tents
he
maybe?
does reference to Teju after he turns her. It's like, oh, I'm able to find people who want to commit suicide, but they don't want this, to go to, they don't want the sin to mark them. So I, technically kill them by draining them of blood.
Oh, he
Yeah,
probably calls
it's
that
a euphemism. It's a
absolution.
euphemism.
Oh shit. Dude. Talking to you, like I'm starting to think more about this film more so than I have before. That's exactly what's going on. He's thinking about like
Yeah,
people
because
in
he
their
said like, oh
confessions
yeah,
who,
yeah,
because we
yeah,
have that lady
exactly. He
initially
says like, oh,
before
I
he
can
goes over
find them
there.
through the confession because like people share like, oh, I have these suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, dude,
Mm-hmm.
that's wild. But yeah, so he goes through all that. He meets that family and the mahjong group, who do you
I
know how to
don't
play
either.
mahjong? Because I don't.
It's all Chinese to me.
I think it's like is that the Asian
There's a
poker?
lot of Asian poker. Yeah.
I know there's like baccarat. There's
Yeah.
like one
There's a
other game
card
that's
game that
also
I know of. It's called
like a
Happo.
poker type game.
It's basically, but it's not really poker.
Hmm.
It's just basically matching cards.
It kind of feels like that's what
Yeah.
mahjong is.
To a degree, I suppose. Um, but yeah, I don't know how to categorize
Because
it
I
because they're sitting at that small table and like they could see
yeah,
all each
because
other's. It seems like they could see everyone else's tiles. So I don't know like what the.
maybe it's all bullshit. Like they're just like it's kind of like one of those like weekly poker games where we're all gonna fuck each other over on money. It's the same pot of money that we play every week, and so from one week it transfers to one person, and from the next week it transfers to the next person. That's kind of like what I
Okay.
feel like it's all about. The like mahjong, I know growing up because we
Yeah.
had like Windows Solitaire, but there was
Hmm.
also Windows Mahjong, and
Yeah.
that was like matching tiles, not this like where to it. I guess it is matching tiles to a degree, but like you have to match them in a certain set, like certain sets, and if you get certain sets, like that's you get like this special hand. I don't
Hmm.
understand that game at all. And I got introduced to that game through playing the Yakuza game
Hmm.
series on PlayStation. And it was like one of those gambling games. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I don't understand this
Hmm.
game at all. And so, but I'm also very curious because I've seen it in so many avenues. And even they say like Koreans don't
Right.
play Mahjong well, but yet they play Mahjong every single week.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe like maybe they just pick. There's just a group of people that just picked it up.
Yeah. So you have like, so it's like, it's the mom,
Yeah. Like the
Mrs.
local
Ra,
police
it's
police chief.
Kang-ho, the
Yeah.
former local police chief, the guy and his like foreign wife
Hmm.
from the Philippines. Who it's funny because our main actor and then that guy, they were in
Yeah.
Memories
Yeah.
of
There's a lot
Murder
of
together.
even the son.
Yeah.
even the son with the fake cancer, he was in sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. I
Legends,
mean,
yeah, 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 yeah.
as was
I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's
Sang-ho-kam.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot
So
of
like, we have a lot of
a lot of familiar
returning
faces.
champions here. Well, what do you think about the Mahjong group? Like, what do you think about them?
I think they're an interesting group. I like as a policeman, I don't know how the former police chiefs couldn't see the Munchausen by proxy with the Raws. Um,
Do you think that do you think that because he's I feel like he's a corrupt a former police
yeah,
chief.
well, that argument could be made, especially because he said that, oh, just let me know and I'll let you go fishing at this place you're not supposed to go fishing.
I think he's corrupt, and he has the
Right.
connections to be like corrupt as well, which is why like he chooses be and maybe Mrs. Raw might not be the most like powerful person in the community, but because he's grown a liking to her, which we don't know why, he has chosen to ignore the clearly symptoms of Munchausen by proxy and really like child abuse because Teju, who has been a
Mm-hmm.
part of this family forever,
Right.
has been treated like shit. And this is not like a 1-year friendship. This is a
Right.
lifelong
Right.
friendship that they've had.
Exactly.
Oh, you know what I think? So here's what I'm thinking. I have a feeling that this is not noble. This is just a speculation thing here. I think Mrs. Raw
Mm-hmm.
poisoned her husband, and through that, but she made it look good, so that it looked like maybe he
Mm-hmm.
died of a heart attack or whatever. And through that investigation, that's when she met the police chief, who ended up becoming her friend.
Hmm.
Because we don't know
Mm-hmm.
where's her husband,
Right.
where's the father. Yeah, because Kang-ho, like, where's his dad?
That's right. That's right.
Or here here what I have an amendment to that. So we have the story
Mm-hmm.
of Teju, right? And this is even more fucked up. And this is very Park Chan-wook. There's a story of Teju's parents, right? And her parents abandoned her and said to be back.
Right. Lay it on me.
Here's what I'm thinking. Mrs. Ra and she had her husband, and there was maybe like a live-in
Mm-hmm.
maid or something like that, right? Mr. Ra is Teju's father. End up sleeping with the maid, had Teju, and she said that they were renters of their house, and this is why she's treated so badly, is that Teju's father and the maid ended up leaving, and like I don't know, maybe they just skipped town, whatever, doesn't matter. And so Mrs. Ra had to care for not only her son by herself, but her stepdaughter, or like her half daughter by herself. I guess
Yeah.
technically it would be her
Yeah.
stepdaughter
Stepdaughter.
because they're not
Well, the
blood related.
illegitimate daughter of her husband.
Right. And then maybe to get one over on like Teju, that's why she's treated so badly. It's like she forced him to be the wife of the son, though I don't think they ever consummated that marriage. Although she gave him like weird hand jobs and shit, like which we hear about, but we never hear about them actually having sex.
Well, I don't know, but the whole incest thing doesn't like wash with me. But she does there.
No, I'm not. But I don't
No,
think they ever
but there
consummated
is a no,
anything.
but there, no,
But
no, no,
there
no.
is
There
a
is a
like
line that
incestual.
that Teju says that once her and Sangyeon do it, you know, she says, I used to be with a guy who only wanted to do it once every 5 years. Now I am with somebody who wants to do it 5 times a night. So
So you think that she slept with the son?
I think so. I think so. So I don't. Yeah. So I don't think that the whole incest thing washes. Um, because like I mean,
I don't know, man. It's
as pissed off as
there's
you
something
are
there.
at the husband, why would you then have your son commit incest?
I don't
It just
know.
doesn't wash with me.
Maybe it's just like, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Mrs. Raw wasn't fucking trying to fuck her son. This, like I said, this is a Park
Yeah,
Chan-wook
but
film. Like anything goes.
you also have to take into account for the culture as well. And I mean, as just as much as
And he pushes
I
the
know,
fucking
but like
envelope. Let's
but
just
there will
say
still be
that he does.
standards. Well, you're right because he did the whole old boy thing.
Have you watched The
Yeah.
Handmaiden?
Yeah, and there was old boy too. So.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that it is a possibility. I'm not saying it is definitive because it's
Right.
unknowable.
Well, I mean, yeah,
This
but
is
still,
just
again,
knowing what I know
but
about this
still, the
director
incest
and
thing doesn't
his.
quite wash with me. I can see her as, you know,
But I think Teju doesn't know this. Teju does not know her dad, does not know her story. She just knows that she is an orphan that was abandoned by her parents, and this lady raised her, and she was friends with this boy her entire life. That's her. That's what
right,
she knows. She doesn't
then
know
you have to
the
make some
backstory.
assumptions, which it
But she's
right,
treated like
but
Cinderella.
yeah, but
That like
again,
as far as like
you have to make assumptions that that don't bear out in what we see, in the movie or in dialogue. So I mean, possibly your theory, maybe.
As I said,
yeah.
all speculation
But, like,
on my part.
yeah, but it'd be stronger if there was like some evidence, like in the movie or like in dialogue. And that's why I do think that they have consummated because of what she said about him. She has a husband who only wants to do it every 5 years, and then now getting with a guy who wants to do it 5 times a night. And I get that Teju is not reliable because she's because of the manipulation, and also because of because of the manipulation that she pulls, saying that uh, her husband, I forget what's his name again. Kang-ho, yeah, Kang-ho like beats her, but then saying like, "Oh, he never laid a hand on me," spilling the beans.
But that's not true either because he's not
exactly.
beating her.
So
She's stabbing herself.
I understand the part from the unreliable narrator from that aspect, but that is much that lie comes much later.
Yeah, and I think there's some sort of connection there too because Sanghyun beats himself when he gets attracted to a woman. Like he's part of that sect. Yeah, he beats his near his private parts.
Opus Dei, from what's it? From Da Vinci Code. From Da Vinci Code, he busts up Opus Dei.
Yeah.
I don't. Possible. I probably have to watch the movie again to see like what you're seeing or what you're extrapolating. But from what I saw, what I remember, like I don't think that theory washes. I just think
this is the third time I've watched it now. Like, and you talking. This is the first time I've actually talked to somebody about this film, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like there's something there. with this family.
Yeah, but I don't think like a secret love child completely washes.
I mean, like, why does this child why does
I
Taeju
mean,
get treated so badly?
you don't really need a reason to treat anyone badly, really.
I mean, yeah, she's not a good person, but like it feels like Teju is treating exceptionally badly. Like she's
Yeah,
nuts,
but
like
that
she's
just might be
trash.
because she's an orphan. You know, I mean, don't underestimate. Uh,
But you've
yeah,
adopted this person into your
because
family.
again,
Why?
she's an energy vampire. She likes the accolades for. Like, oh, aren't you so? You're so kind. You adopted this poor girl that you found on the street.
That, like I said,
Yeah.
that is also very true. That just because
Mhm.
she's an energy vampire, it could be
Yeah,
both.
but again,
Who
yeah, but
knows?
again, I don't because if she because like if you're trying to do a handmaid thing or housemaid thing, then it would have been obvious because then like the housemaid will start presenting and it's like, oh, like who the hell did you sleep with? Um, and then when you have like the a comfortable conversation, and then I don't know. I just think yeah, it could just be that Teju was a neighborhood girl that whose parents like for whatever reason abandoned her. Maybe they couldn't afford her, or they just didn't like her as a kid. Maybe she just didn't measure up as a daughter for whatever reason. And yeah, because of Kang-ho's mother's energy vampire, she just took on Teju and just was like, oh, and just fed off the accolades, and also as a reverse energy vampire, stole the joy away from Teju. And don't underestimate the snobbiness of Korean people. All right, you don't. Some Koreans, it doesn't take much for them to hate you. Yeah.
That
Okay.
is also very true.
Yeah,
I know, I know,
Rob,
I
all
know
right.
to
Being
my
around
core
Koreans as much
being.
as you have, you should know this.
Yeah, I am actually very lucky that
Yeah,
my in-laws love me. That is very
yeah,
rare.
but yeah, exactly. So it's like they're like Koreans are, Korean, as wonderful people as they are, they're also looking to things to just like to dislike about you. All right.
Like you
Yeah,
always
my
tell
mom
my
hates
wife, it's
you.
like my mom
Yeah,
hates you.
my mom sized up your wife the moment she met her. And your wife scratched her baby boy. So. I'm, okay. I'm exaggerating when I tell that story. When I tell you that to your wife, I'm exaggerating a little bit. But basically, that's what she's like. It's like don't ever don't ever let that bitch ever touch you again. Again, I'm punching up, but yeah, my mom was kind of upset that your wife scratched me.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah, because
that.
it's like there's like okay. Okay, we were hanging out and whatever, and for whatever, and like we were going back to your place, I think it was. We were in
Yeah.
like Northridge, and for whatever reason, your wife wanted to ride with me, and
Yep.
I have to. It's so hard because there's so much to explain, like backstory. But your wife is very punchy, or like she's playful.
Yeah,
She's
that's a great
she's playful,
that's a great
but
way of
she's
putting it.
punchy. All right, and she gets overly
Yeah.
excited, and so like I was driving the car, and she would like try to she was trying to tickle me as we were driving. She like kind of poke me, and one time like she got me, and then she tried to get me again, and then she happened to scratch me. I know this is really fucked up for someone to hear, like from the outside, but I promise it's all innocent. Although very annoying, especially when you're trying to drive a car. Um,
Dude, I'll talk about that later. It's like she always like trying to touch me while I'm driving. It's like stop touching me while I drive. Like just
yeah,
like let me
but
focus. Like
I know
stop
this
it.
sounds so horrible, and we're talking shit about your wife. But I
She
know, but
ain't gonna watch this.
it's
Don't
just
worry
so
about it.
weird. So yeah, and then like she accidentally scratches my face, and then and leaves a mark, and my mom sees this. It's like, who did that to you? And I was just like, oh, it was Robert's wife. She was she was messing around too much, and she scratched me. And it's like, don't ever let that bitch touch you again. Again, I'm punching it up, but the spirit of it was that.
Yes.
And so that's why my wife hates her. I mean, that's why my mom hates your wife.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, right. So
Very
again,
Korean.
Koreans are looking for things to hate about you. Okay. Not always. Don't get me wrong. Koreans are wonderful people. All right, but I
Yeah.
know. But okay, they're wonderful.
They are.
Yeah. The
I'm
Koreans are
married to
wonderful
one.
people,
I know.
but they also are looking for reasons to hate you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Going back to the movie though, what do you think about the vampire aspect
It's
of this film? Because
it's
that
very
I
out of
think is
left field.
fascinating because
Yeah, it's not
right.
as though this is a world where vampires, or it's not established that this is a world where vampires also exist. It just happens to be that uh, Sangyeon happened by
By a series
circumstances.
of
Sangyeon happened to get
circumstances.
vampire blood, and like, who is this conscientious vampire that's like, oh yeah, I want to do my part and help these poor people.
Was Count Dracula just giving away his blood to random
Yeah, that's what
hospitals
I'm saying.
trying to create another more vampires? But like maybe he's like Sangyeon. Like this particular vampire is like I'm also altruistic and I want to give my blood and give people life through this and albeit they'll have hunger for blood the rest of their life, but it's a way to create more vampires. Like it's very
Or
strange.
it's the disease that he has that somehow mutates to give him vampiric powers.
Oh, so like his disease mutates his blood transfusion, which turns
Yes,
him into a
at least that's
vampire.
one explanation.
Oh, that's also yeah. I would agree with that's very true too. And now he becomes a guy that if he gives his blood, other people will turn into what
Mm,
have the same problem he has. Whereas, but if he alone feeds on people, that's no problem. They're not going to turn.
right. It's in a weird way, it's very Adam and Eve, but kind of reversed. Because because instead of
Yeah,
Eve, it's Adam who takes up the knowledge of good and evil, but he tries to contain that evil as much as possible. Uh, but it's Eve that goes kind of out of control.
right. Yeah, it's because she does not want to hold
Yeah,
to
like his
his
morality, his standards.
rules, the morality rules. Yeah, because what he's doing is like it's not really bad. Because like listen, I have this problem and I have to feed this problem, but I'm gonna do it in a way that does not affect people's lives. I'm attacking people who are in a coma and I'm just taking a portion of their blood, or I'm meeting people who are already going to commit suicide or accident victims who are
Yeah,
like
they're
they're
brain dead
essentially
or whatever.
dying. So I'm going to take their blood that way. But that's the whereas when she gets into this power, it's like I'm gonna that's not fun. I'm gonna
Yeah,
kill everybody.
dude. Dude, this movie is so much deeper than because because it's
It really
yeah because
is.
again I think Chan-wook Park is very smart because especially using Christians, because a lot of time there are different kinds of Christians. There's like those Christians who like, oh, I sin but I'm not but my sin, I don't like spread my sin around. It's my sin is very like internal, as opposed to the
Yeah.
other kind of Christians where they're like, oh well, I'm just saved by the grace of God, so it doesn't matter if I sin, which is the Teju character.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that's a great thing to say. It's like, oh, I'm saved.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
saved by the
saved by the
blood.
blood, but I'm gonna do
Hmm.
whatever the fuck I want because I've had a terrible existence, so I'm gonna do whatever the fuck
Right.
I
Yeah.
want. But I'm saved by the blood
Hmm.
because she is saved by the blood.
Wow. This movie's so deep.
Oh man, there is there. There's so many
Uh-huh.
different directions you could go with this film of like, and this is where I would love to hear a
Uh-huh.
interview with Park Chan-wook about like what his
Right.
thought process was on this film, just because maybe so I have a direction to go. Like, okay,
Hmm.
this is what the director wanted. We'll go in this direction. Now, that might not necessarily be true, like, because sometimes, like, a director will say something, it's like, well, that's bullshit because that's not where the film is going. That's not where the story takes you. The director could say one thing, but the story is taking you in another place. That happens, but at least you have a direction to look. And I didn't see if there was any interviews with him about this film. And to be honest, I actually don't know a ton about Park Chan-wook or like his. I've seen a lot of his films now. Like
Yeah.
we've done 4
Uh-huh.
this year of his, and I'm so curious about like how he with his films, which are I would imagine very
Yeah.
controversial in Korea, of all places. America, I think, has embraced him as a like, oh, this guy is a
Hmm.
filmmaker and we love him. But how do people
Right.
feel about
Yeah,
him in
that'd be the
Korea?
question. Hmm.
That's what I want to know. Because like you know, like you look at like Kurosawa or
Uh-huh.
Yosujiro Ozo in Japan, beloved directors in Japan who made great films that everyone in Japan and America where and around the world love. But when it comes to Korean directors, it's while they're making great stuff, I'm also very curious as to yeah, like how they are received in
Right.
Korea. Like Bong Joon-ho, I think is making more like he's kind of like the Christopher Nolan
Hmm.
of Korea. He's making stuff that people like, but also makes you
Hmm.
think and challenges people. Park Chan-wook feels like the Stanley
Korea.
Kubrick of
Hmm.
Korea. He's just fucking. He's gonna make what he wants to make,
He's gonna
and
pepper it
people be
with
damned.
meaning.
Like
Yeah,
you're
he's
just
gonna
gonna
put a
have to
lot of
accept what I put
esoteric
out there.
knowledge in his movies. Um, yeah, and it's interesting that at the end there's there's a bit of redemption for the Sungyeon character because he basically uh, cleans up his mess. You know, because one, ultimately, he takes out himself and Teju, um, and but also he destroys his reputation. When they go to
Oh, dude, when he rapes that girl in like the camp that's
yeah, exactly. So
hanging out by the
he does
hospital,
reputation destruction to himself.
dude.
So he's no longer viewed as this idol.
Yeah, dude. I was like, what?
Right.
What the fuck? But you're right. It is cleaning up a mess because he doesn't want to feel because he's gonna die, and he feels
Mm-hmm.
responsible for those people, and he doesn't want them to be there forever,
Mm-hmm.
hoping on hope that they're gonna get something from them because he knows that
Mm-hmm.
that's not gonna happen. And to be honest, and I think he realizes that the only way that they're what them or their family members are going to get any sort of healing or absolution or whatever the fuck that they're looking for, it's going to come through that vampiric blood. And he doesn't want to because of how terrible it was from Teju taking it. He doesn't want to
Yeah.
pass it on to anyone
An
else.
interesting.
That's why he chooses
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
clean up the
And that's why.
mess,
Yeah.
if you
He
will.
like. I mean, he couldn't do anything about the ones that Teju already killed. But that's why he doesn't kill the Filipina girl.
Yeah, at first I was like, wait, did he killed
Yeah,
her,
he was
right?
like,
Like we
yeah.
saw her eat, him eating her blood. But I think that was all performative theater because at first I was like, is she a vampire now?
No, yeah.
And it's like,
It's
no,
only
she's
if
not.
you drink the
It's
vampire
all it
blood
was all
that you
theater.
become a vampire. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And that's an interesting twist on the world because normally a vampire bite turns you into a
well, I
vampire.
think yeah, I
That's
think
not
that's a
what
modern
happens here at all.
convention, but I think traditionally it's because I think we also see it in Bram Stoker that what is it? Winona Ryder's character. She only starts becoming a vampire after drinking Dracula's blood. Um, and similar and
Well, Nosferatu, like the vampire bite is also at least puts them in some sort of
right,
trance
but
of
I think
some sort.
traditionally to turn you have to drink some of the vampire's blood, and you also get that in Interview with the Vampire. Um, with the turning of Brad Pitt's character and Kristen Dunst's character, where they drink the blood of Lestat.
Ah, right. Okay, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
that's
think that's
I
more of
think
a
that is a
traditional like folklore thing.
more
Um, and I think
okay.
the bite was a modern invention to make the turning process more streamlined. Yeah,
Oh, that makes sense. So this is kind of like more of a going back to the
right.
basics
Because
essentially.
it's ultimately about choice. You have you either choose to do good.
Because we don't
Yeah,
see
yeah,
any bangs.
exactly. You don't have the convention of fangs. Like they just bite and like they're able to break the skin and draw the blood. Um, and yeah, and it's also like maybe a meta commentary about giving women responsibility because like as soon as Teju becomes a vampire, she throws all abandon to the wind, and like she just like completely like indulges in um, her instincts, uh, you know, to hell with like any kind of responsibility. Where Sangyeon, he was very responsible with how he collected blood. He took a little bit here from there from comatose patients. He found suicidal people to drain, and he kept his desires mostly in check.
Right, and he was smart about it. Like he wasn't attacking people that would be missed or
Yeah,
like that he was doing anything really wrong to. Whereas Teju is like, no, I don't care. I'm gonna take innocent victims. It's more fun that
yeah,
way. Like
exactly. Yeah, it's a
she was a
commentary.
huntress.
It's a meta commentary of like what happens when you give women power but not responsibility.
Ooh, that's interesting too.
Dude, this movie is so freaking. I gotta watch this again.
Dude, I think this might be his best film. The Handmaiden is
Mm-hmm.
pretty goddamn good. This might be his best film. I am so blown away by just this conversation is making me think about this film a lot more, even more. And I'm just like, whoa, my gosh, there's this. What do you think about this? I have this question because these are all
Mm-hmm.
questions I was having in my mind, and then you're bringing up questions like, oh, I didn't think about that either. That's interesting. There's so much here, and like I said, we're literally just scratching the
Right.
surface of this great film. And I'm actually, this is a film that I'm definitely gonna buy. Actually, Kino Lorber has a release of this that I'm gonna pick up. As a I've heard one of the best commentary tracks for a Korean film, or at least for a Park Chan-wook film. That I was like, okay, well, if a lot of people are saying it's really good, it's rated really high on the um this website that I find like if like a Blu-ray is good or not kind of thing. So I'm definitely gonna probably get this just because I wanna watch this again. I wanna learn more about the film. Definitely got to learn more about Park Chan-wook because there's definitely a lot here. The acting is phenomenal. If you're looking for a vampire film that's not necessarily connected to Bram
Right. Yeah.
Stoker's Dracula in any way, so like
Yeah. It
if
doesn't
you're
lean
looking for something
heavily on the
outside of
traditions of the vampire, but
uh
it does use the vampire tropes.
right. Yeah, this is so outside of that realm, yet at the same it's fresh and new, yet it does have some of the traditional things as far as drinking the vampire's blood, and it does play off of the plague slash disease notion that we see in Nosferatu. So there's that aspect. But it's so good. Acting's phenomenal. It looks great. If you're looking for a very, very, very sexy film, look no further than this film because goddamn, there's a lot of sex and nudity in this film. So you're gonna love that. And I mean, nothing new for Park Chan-wook. Like he does love his
Yeah,
sex and
and
nudity in his
the
films.
main actress, Kim Ok-vin. Yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
Uh, Teju?
She has that like uh, crazy cute, hot thing going.
Yeah, I do. Like she's sexy, dude. But yeah, you're right. She's
Yeah.
sexy and cute at the same time. And damn, dude, like what like that scene like where there's that initially where she's
Hmm.
constantly like running away from like just running into the night and she gets caught by
Hmm.
Sunghyun. And there's that scene between them
Hmm.
in the hanbok store, like where they're like just
Hmm.
about ready to have sex, and it's very
Well,
sexy.
yeah, and just like
It really
the
is.
code of
Like there's this
communication
whole
that
like
they pass to each other during the game, where it's like, oh, like I can't. He was like saying, oh, I can't wait for next week, and then she's like, oh, well, maybe we can get together on Sunday. It's like, oh, well,
dude, yeah, we should always
right,
have the
yeah.
game on Sundays too. Like, it's like, oh, maybe it's best for things to like just like let us
Uh-huh.
linger and wait for them. Dude, that scene
Yeah,
is
it's
also phenomenal.
mhm.
Great stuff. But there's so much like oh my gosh, like in so many levels, this film is amazing. And now that we're talking as we're talking about it and we're thinking about it, we did talk about like the final scene about like essentially cleaning up the mess. Sung realizes like I've created a monster and essentially she has not only forced me to take out the son who she said was abusing her, which wasn't occurring because she was doing that to herself. And she used Sanghyun to essentially kill him and then turn her into a vampire
Yeah,
through his like lust for her. But that also caused her mother-in-law to
yeah,
develop
and
a
become
stroke
catatonic.
and catatonic. Yeah, and at first I thought it's like, is she gonna run that car into the sea?
Right, right.
Like essentially, like he gave her a phone, and no, it was like like, what's that for? And then you're gonna run her into the sea? Like, is she gonna call 911 from the ocean? Like,
Mhm.
what the fuck is gonna? But no, the car stops like at the cliffside, and it's probably already pre-dialed. She just has to
Yeah,
hit
when
the
when
button
she
to
does
call
gain
like
some
emergency services.
dexterity, uh,
Because I think that she knows, even though she can't say what's going on,
yeah,
she
yeah, yeah,
knows that they're vampires, and it's like I don't believe what I just saw, but I know that I
yeah,
just saw some fucking
yeah,
vampires, like from Dusk Till Dawn. That's what's going on with
yeah.
with Mrs. Raw. Like, it's like they're vampires, and so they but he wants to clean up that mess.
Mhm.
It's like we have to die, but he knows that she can't take care of herself. So like you call emergency services
because he
and
drives them
they'll take
out
care of
to
you.
the sea where there's like no cover whatsoever, just before sunrise, and so yeah, and then Teju does everything she can to save themselves. Like one, like trying to, getting him inside the trunk of the car, but he blows the roof, the door off the trunk, and then she tries to hide herself under the car, but he simply moves the car. Yeah, he rolls the car,
He rolls it.
and so yeah, he
Yeah.
knows like this is the right thing to do, and she's like trying to fight it to her last breath. Um,
Until she
yeah.
realizes she can't fight it
A really
anymore.
quick question though. That scene where that one guy from the Mahjong group basically sexually assaults her. Does that really happen? Or was
So no, he doesn't sexually, because she's a nymphomaniac. This is
right?
before she turns into a vampire. And she's essentially having, because I think that this is something that has happened where she's had sex with that
Uh,
guy a lot, because she doesn't want to have sex with Kang-ho. She hates her family. That guy knows it, and this is a guy who has, you know, I don't know if even has sex with his Filipino wife, but she's had sex with him multiple times. I don't think that's the first time at all.
hmm. Well, I mean, cause
And I think he's just taking advantage. I think he's taking advantage of the fact that she likes sex, and she's gonna take any excuse to like fulfill her. So she's a sexual vampire in a sense. She's gonna use whoever's there. She's gonna use whatever dick is available to get off and like take her needs.
that's another
That's
aspect. Yeah, yeah,
another
yeah. Another aspect.
vampiric, another
Hmm.
aspect of the
No,
vampirism.
cause it seemed like initially she was trying to fight him off.
No, I don't think so at all. I think, but here's the thing though, is that was after them having sex 5 times,
Okay. Yeah, cause
and she was tired.
no, like even initially it felt like she was like trying to fight him off. Maybe I'm misremembering. I'll probably have to go back and watch this movie.
Yeah, no, she doesn't fight him off. It seems like she was a willing participant there. I could be wrong though. I may have misread that situation, but it feels like she's a sexual vampire in a sense. She's a succubus.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
a lot here
Mm,
with this character and the whole movie.
yeah.
And I think that's what makes this film so unique when it comes to the vampire film, which makes it great. So have you
No, I
seen
haven't seen
Train
that
to
one. No.
Busan? Oh, what the fuck? Dude, that
Mm,
transforms the zombie film. That resurrected a
yeah.
dead genre, in my opinion. This transforms the vampire
Okay.
genre with Thirst. Thirst is a
Okay. I don't want
transformative
to get this. I don't want
vampire
to keep
film.
going for too long, but do want to pose. What's the deal with the doctor? The doctor that was treating that the comatose guy. And he does like
Uh-huh.
confession, and he talks about like, oh, sometimes I drag my feet a little bit whenever I get the page, and there's like a part of me that wishes he dies. What do you think? What do you think that's a commentary of?
So so what I'm thinking is this is a hospital where people who are
Right,
pretty much on
right.
death's
It's almost like
door
a
are
hospice.
at. And I think he is, yeah, I think that's what it is. And he's like, oh my god, another alert. Like, I don't need to see another person die on my watch. Like, I think this is a guy who's been in this profession for a while, and he's been in this hospital for a while, and has seen a lot of people die, and that gets
Yeah.
really tiring
You know
after a
what?
while
I
on
just
your
thought of it.
soul.
It might be a commentary of the repetitive nature of the confessional, because just like that doctor is tired of having like these code blue emergencies for this guy and not dying. Like he mirrors probably the exhaustion of priests who constantly hear the same sins from.
The same
Yeah.
confessions
Mhm.
over and over and over and over
Mhm.
again from the same people. Bro, that's not
I just put it
far off.
together right now. I just put it
That I
together
would
right
say
now
that's
because he makes that confession in a confessional, and just thinking about like what he's complaining about, like he's like, oh, yeah, it's like I keep getting these, like, emergency calls, but he never dies, and it's just like it's always the same emergency call all the time, and just thinking about like confession, like the act of confession, particularly in the Catholic Church, it's like constantly confessing, but then it's always the same sin. It's like, oh, I had lustful thoughts. I cheated on my wife.
yeah.
I stole money from the cash register. What have you. But it's the same thing over and over again. And what are doctors but like the secular priests?
Yeah, you're right. Like I said, there's a lot here to this movie, and to be honest, like I wasn't sure where I was like I thought I
Mm-hmm.
knew kind of where my rating was, but this conversation elevated to like
Mm-hmm.
the another degree.
All right then. Now, yeah. I mean, now that we got most of it figured out, let's give our ratings. And
How would you rate this? How
um,
would you rate
y-
Thirst by from
yeah.
2009, Park Chan-wook's Thirst?
Like you, I initially didn't know where I was gonna land on this movie. But again, through this discussion, through the hashing out of the ideas, uh, and some of the interpretation, um, it definitely has elevated my opinion and my rating of this movie. Um, I'm not gonna give it a five. Um, at least as of now, I'm not gonna give it a five. But I'm gonna give it a four.
Ooh, okay. I'm slightly
Mm-hmm.
above you. I'm at 4.5. Just because of like all the things we talked about. I think there's more things to dive into as
Mm-hmm.
far as watching this film, and I I just yeah, like I said, this film makes me want to watch it again and again, and
Mm-hmm.
just trying to figure things out. And maybe they are unknowable, but sometimes like those unfinished puzzle pieces makes you come back to a film to see like
Right.
maybe I can figure out this time. That's kind of what I'm thinking, why this film is so good. And I'm a sucker for a good vampire film. I like I like all the acting. I like the themes. I love the director.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. I mean, the all the practical effects and shit that they pulled off. The
Yeah, that's
Twilight-esque
right.
jumping that they're doing, that's a little weird. But that's probably like
Mhm.
my only knock on the film is like that looks a little cheesy. But it's Korea. Like they're not
Yeah.
that's not what they're known for. The CGI is not as advanced as it
Mhm.
is over here in this country, but that's
Mhm.
okay. What's really there is the dramatic aspects of the film that make you question like, oh shit, what's going on here? Who are these people? Why are they why what is this dialogue? What do we have to deal with? That's what makes the film interesting. So for me it's a 4.5.
Yeah. I mean, I just need to watch it, at least a couple more times before I can say that if this is a five or not. Because there seems like because I've only watched it once, and so even though I was able to extract all of like these insights, I don't quite see how they work together yet. And I mean, I think, and I like to think that there is intention. Um, and so once I figure that out, I might be able to elevate it to a five. But currently, I have to be fair, and at this moment, it's still opaque to me. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna rewatch the movie and maybe reevaluate, and and maybe there isn't much more to this movie, and four is like the suitable rating. But I wanna leave some wiggle room.
I'll see if maybe our friends on a cut above, if they ever do Thirst, maybe we'll come back. We'll see if we can get on there. We'll talk
Maybe,
about this
yeah.
film with our theories because this is a great horror film. This is awesome. This is one for the
All
ages.
right, folks. There you have it. That's our review for Thirst from 2009, directed by Chan-wook Park. Sorry, the name escaped me there for a second.
It's
Dude, we're like
okay.
3.5 hours, surprisingly.
Yeah, no, sorry. It's been a long
Yeah.
time
I give it a
tonight.
4. Rob gives it a 4.5. Definitely a movie to check out. Um, you won't be disappointed, especially maybe, and then also like give it a watch and let us know what you got from the movie. It's because I would really love to hear like some other interpretations or some other ideas. Because this again,
Absolutely.
we're not the arbiters. This isn't definitive. This is just like our interpretations and what we got from, what we bring to the work of art. So maybe someone will get something completely different and diametrically opposed to what we think, and I welcome it. So. Uh,
And next week we're sticking with the same theme, vampires, but we're going in a very different direction. We're going to revisit Vampire in Brooklyn.
yeah. Yeah, I actually never seen it, but
I don't think I've seen it since the 90s. Like
mhm.
like whenever it came out. Like I think I saw it
uh,
kind of around the time it came out. I don't think I've seen
yeah,
it
and of
since.
course that's Eddie Murphy, and also I think the late great John Witherspoon makes an appearance in that movie as well. So
Oh, fuck
yeah,
yeah, dude.
so something to look forward to next week. All right, folks, that'll do it for our stream tonight. Hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time, and I
My
hope it's
favorite
your
day of the
favorite day
week.
of the week as well. If you enjoyed this stream, don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, old episodes and our transmissions, of course, with movie reviews, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, formerly Twitter, now X, and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with that all said, thank you for joining us tonight. Come back next week, and we'll do it all over again. Have a good night.